Gotta move.
Gotta move, babe.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, February 13th, 2020. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination episode 1216.
This is No Agenda.
Following the fortune cookie crumbs and broadcasting live from Opportunity Zone 33 here in the frontier of Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where we're dead set against the hanging of Roger Stone, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
I can tell you're all emotional over it. It's very difficult.
Hang the guy. They said, hanging judge.
They're going to hang the guy. Yeah, exactly. No. You know what this was. You know what this was, don't you? This was a setup.
Yeah, I heard that theory before a couple of times. Actually.
Well, then let me mention it on the show where you haven't heard it. The idea was that the lawfare group lawyers, so what is presented as long-term civil servants working for the Justice Department. Yeah, no. This was impeachment lawyers who came from the lawfare group. They decided, here's a good idea. Why don't we get another impeachment thing started? We're going to ask for a crazy amount of time for Roger Stone, and then we'll resign. And exactly what they wanted. This will just be added to the impeachment 2.0 case.
Well, the problem is there's mind reading involved here because the idea was to get Trump to do something about it. All he did was tweet about it.
To get Barr to do something about it. It was Barr.
Yeah, but all he did was tweet about it, and Barr never heard. Barr can go because they're going to bring him in. He's going to go testify, and they're going to say, "Did the president tell you to do this?" And they just say, "No,"
John,
because he didn't.
You're confusing logic with what the M5M likes to use in the machine. This is all over the place. Oh, Barr should resign. Trump. Oh, no, this is obstruction. It has nothing to do with logic or with truth or facts. It's just, let's just do something, everybody. Come on. To me, that seemed pretty obvious.
I'm getting sick of it.
Well, no, there's that. There's that. Before we go, I finally got the ISO.
I'm the president of the United States. I have all of the power.
I can't see anything else being used than this.
That is a good one.
It is so dynamite. Good old Burnsicle. What an idiot. Let's see, where are we at? What do we have to talk about? Oh, Oscars, I guess. Oscars on Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah. All time low.
Yeah, of course.
Well done.
People aren't particularly fond of watching the celebrities that they go to spend money on at the movies, lecturing them about how we should act.
Well,
there wasn't much of it. I mean, there was only Brad Pitt coming out and bitching about not having Bolton testify. So
yeah, which I didn't see that as a huge anti-Trump slam. It's like, okay, that was
no, but I think there was what was interesting there was the fact that he said he only had 45 seconds. Now, so the acting award. I mean, the makeup artist spent more than 45 seconds thanking people.
Well, these speeches are, even though Brad Pitt denies it, there are companies that write these speeches for people. And they'll write something funny for you or give you a little political message, whatever you're looking for. So I think this was maybe it's the Norman Lear Hollywood Group who sends out some consultants. Oh, we got a thought here. Maybe they're on staff at the Oscars. Who knows? But above all, it is painfully obvious to me that just like in politics, where we have an old guard, and I'm not being ageist, but at a certain point, we're in this transition period where we live longer. People are, 70 is the new 50. But, a lot of the old ideas and thoughts and ways and means, and racism too, I'm sure, kind of sticks. And then we got the new people coming in, and they all want wokeness, and they want different things, and they also communicate differently. And how many Oscars were won by Netflix shows? Hello, is this telling you anything, Hollywood? So, they're so deathly afraid of having a host because, controversy. Yet, I think it was the comedians who kind of made the show bearable to watch. They paired them up, with Will Ferrell and What are the Saturday Night Live gals? That was kind of funny, but otherwise, it was just a dumb, boring show with, to be honest, I don't think, I saw Parasite. It's a good movie. Is it really the best? Is it? I'm asking you.
You're asking me? I haven't seen it. I've only watched the beginning of it. I liked the beginning.
Oh, it's okay, but for all the hype I heard about it, once I saw it, I went, you wait until you see what happens, and then there's something that happens in the movie, like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's a good twist. And now, it's just, I don't know.
Well, I do have the one clip I got, which is not the whole thing, because for the 45 seconds, Joaquin got to speak for Best Actor, the Joker.
Yes.
He spent 3 minutes and 11 seconds. And they never played him off or anything. He went rambling on. And he started off by saying, the great thing about being in this business is that we get a platform. I never thought that was part of the deal, but okay, he thinks he's got a platform to go on and on and on about what he thinks is, what he thinks is important and what we need to be hearing from him. He's an actor. He should be reading lines. And I don't believe anybody wrote this for him. It's too discombobulated. But you want to play this as a short, less than a minute of him going on about whatever.
We go into the natural world and we plunder it for its resources. We feel entitled to artificially inseminate a cow. And when she gives birth, we steal her baby, even though her cries of anguish are unmistakable. And then we take her milk that's intended for her calf and we put it in our coffee and our cereal. And I think we fear the idea of personal change because we think that we have to sacrifice something to give something up. But human beings at our best are so inventive and creative and ingenious. And I think that when we use love and compassion as our guiding principles, we can create, develop, and implement systems of change that are beneficial to all sentient beings and to the environment.
We are the world.
He makes the comment, he says, we think we have to sacrifice something to give something up. Isn't that like redundant? Isn't that what you do when you're sacrificing? You are giving something up? What is he talking about? And what does that got to do with putting milk in your cereal?
You should not be drinking milk. Why do you drink pus from the cow? It's crazy. I've heard it all. My daughter's big on that, too. She's like, we're not meant to drink that. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I guess baking with it's okay, though. Is it all right to bake with milk? Is that?
I don't know what is all right. I have some in my tea right now, so what?
Oh, no. How disgusting. You horrible person. You don't care about the earth and the world and all its creatures. This is very bad. Very, very bad that you're doing. Yeah. Yeah. That the Irishman, that cost $190 million.
What? On what?
Well, I was.
Where was it spent? Were they drinking that much?
On CGI, man. So I got to look at Netflix's numbers. I don't know if you discussed it with Horowitz at all, but so they just raised another $2 billion with a bond, which I guess would be a junk bond, probably, or junk bond status. No, I think that's what all the messaging was. So their total debt is $14 billion.
Yeah, just like a Hollywood studio.
Yeah, but check this out. Their content budget for 2020, just take a wild guess.
$10 billion.
$15 billion.
That's outrageous.
Well, they should at least put Animated No Agenda on their stupid channel. I mean, come on.
Oh, yeah. With the Animated, well, maybe we're not spending enough on it. Not squandering enough resources.
Yeah, hey, guys, this is our demo, and we really need $10 million to produce it properly. Whereas this is exactly what you want. Thank you, Jennifer. The most recent one,
yes, quite good.
Yeah, that's the 16,000 lies. Oh, I tagged the president in it. If everybody would please retweet, because all we need is one retweet from the president. One. I think this is the one that he might like or might catch his eye. It's a video, it's about lies.
That's a very good idea. dynamite idea.
Yeah, I mean, if we can get
I would say, yes, everybody go retweet this to the president.
Yeah. In fact, don't retweet, just tweet it. Copy it, tweet it again. Make sure the video shows.
Yes.
Tweet it again and retweet it. Let's see if we can make it happen. I mean, it would be fantastic. That would really put that show on the map. And as I was going through the list again, Dame Jennifer's done some phenomenal work. We have like 15 of these things now. And we look like dynamite. We look like a real operation.
Yeah, that's what we do. We're the illusionists.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's us.
How many balls can you juggle?
Don't look over here.
Keeping those plates spinning.
Exactly. Love the plate spinning. All right.
Anyway, so I found that the Oscars were they were dull and
yeah.
And by the way, what was it with this set? Remember, every year we kind of talk about this. This set looked like a black hole to hell. It looked like something's going to suck you in and you're going to be gone for like a black hole. It was an ode to Disney's movie, The Black Hole.
It was a black hole. Yes, that's true. That's true. I don't even remember that much from the show. It was just blatantly boring. I mean, even Elise came over. You know, she's a super film nut. You know, the kind that will be like, well, I don't want him to win for Best Director because he also directed that movie. It was a piece of crap and he's homophobic. You know, I mean, so really deep into this stuff. And even she was only there because none of these kids have television. She hasn't hung up the antenna I gave her for direct over the air. So she just comes here to, hey, I'll come over and cook. I'm like, mm-hmm. And because she wanted to watch with it, which was fun. But, man, right after the best movie, oh, well, the show's not over. Oh, well, I got to get up early tomorrow. She's gone. No interest in the show business around it. There's just none. I think they should really get rid of this. Do something else with the airtime. And the Academy itself. I don't know what
they're going to do.
What is the Academy?
It's just slowly going to grind down to a stop. It's going to kill itself. It's not, I don't know. There was nothing good about it.
No. Next year, they, of course, could ask the Curry Dvorak Consulting Group. I'm sure we could spice it up a bit. But even then, I'm worried about it. All right.
I don't know.
So we had, what else did we have? Yes. Well, we have some kind of horse race going on in the United States for the Democratic candidate for the 2020 election. And it's getting really fun. And hopefully you have finally decided to unfollow the Democratic operatives you placed so much trust in because Joe Biden has been dropped.
What do you mean he's been dropped?
All support is gone. I told you he was only necessary for the impeachment because if he wasn't the front runner, then he's not really a political opponent. Now is he? So they needed him.
Joe Biden's going to win South Carolina.
Joe Biden's not going to win South Carolina. No way. Well, you know what? He is giving it a good old try. Yeah, this is from a speech he gave. I don't know if it was this morning or yesterday.
We don't feel no ways tired. We've come too far from where we started, and I don't believe he brought me this far to stop now.
So he's speaking to a crowd of ADOS, and where have we heard that before?
I don't feel no ways tired. I've come too far from where I started from. I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me.
You cannot tell me that there is not a mole in the organization that is messing with his sound, that is giving him false information. Hey, Joe, just tell him we're in Nevada. Hey, this is great, Joe. The blacks will love it, Joe. Just do this. Just recite this, Joe.
We don't feel no ways tired.
I mean,
maybe it was a gag.
Please. Now is no time for joking around.
Well, at the very beginning, I always thought, or at least I think the two of us agreed, that he wasn't really into it that much and maybe never really wanted to run because he's kind of old and this seems like a big hassle.
Yeah.
He doesn't need the money.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And so he said was kind of half sincere about the whole thing, and so he doesn't really care. But now I think it's become kind of a since he's getting called out as a loser. I think he's got his hackles up, and he maybe will actually be sincere about this and actually run. That's why I think he'll win South Carolina.
Wow!
But you're right. I should divorce myself from following these guys.
Yeah, they're not helpful.
But the constant theme is Joe's going to be the guy, and Bernie's got to go.
Yeah, well, that Bernie's got to go is agreed to, and there's all kinds of crazy theories on the mainstream as well. This is my favorite. This is my top.
We're back with Jerry Falwell Jr., and Jerry, we've got about 30 seconds here. Do you believe Mitt Romney should be thrown out of the party for going against the president?
I think he's going to leave the party. I think I've heard speculation this week that he's positioning himself to be a vice presidential candidate for one of the Democrats. And I think that would be the honest thing for him to do, because he's been more in line with their beliefs for decades than the Republican Party. So I hope this is his move to come clean. Finally.
Right. I think what you hear out there, I don't know if you can hear it, I can, there's a lot of applause out there for what you're suggesting. Thanks so much, Jerry.
So the idea is the so-called unity ticket between Mitt Romney as vice president and John Kerry as president.
Yeah, I've posted this in the newsletter.
I know, but they're actually seriously discussing it.
They're both deluded.
Yeah. Well, the M5M is so desperate that they'll pick up any story. As long as we can not say Bernie, then it's okay, I guess. Let's just do a quick recap of an important event here.
Breaking news now, the chairman of the Iowa Democratic Party is resigning in the wake of the disastrous caucus process, the technical glitches and delayed results.
No. There it is. We totally screwed over the results. We couldn't actually give you the results. The reason? A glitch. Thank you, mainstream. I feel so much better now that I know exactly what happened. So that's it. You resign because of a glitch. No more questions asked. It'll never come up again. And we'll never have the final tally. Well, I don't care, Democrat Party.
Who cares? It's about time they got bumped from that perch.
What else you got?
Well, I think that there was one interesting thing. I actually pulled this from Rush Limbaugh, which I've never done before. This is my first, because he's I don't know. I hate to be maudlin about it, but he did have this. He did find this one little tidbit. This is the clip 17 through 24.
Oh, okay.
NBC News exit polls showed last night voters between the ages of 18 to 29 made up only...
Hey, is his voice higher? It sounds higher.
It's funny that you'd say that, because, and I don't know why this is, and there are a couple of things I noticed, because I recorded a bit of this. This is only a small part of what all the stuff I recorded never used. For one thing, his waveforms are not nearly even close to being as compressed as I thought they were.
Oh, interesting.
It's not like a compressed, and he's AM radio generally, and it's a very uncompressed waveform. It doesn't look anything like a classic big booming voice guy.
You mean like the Agenda Show, which is a block of flat?
Just black block.
Black block of flat, yeah.
Also, when you hear him doing it, it sounds deeper than when you do the replay. And when he on his bit, he replays some of his old clips. He likes to do this. You find a clip from 10 years ago where he predicted something, and he likes to harp on it.
Right.
So
well, we have that too. Yeah.
We do that.
Yeah.
But he plays his old clips, and they sound tinny. It's like, what? But wait a minute.
You know what it sounds like?
About the reproduction of his show that sounds tinny.
It may be. It sounds like someone I heard this recently. It sounds like someone who's been intubated. You know, if you get knocked out, general anesthesia. This is usually your voice is up a couple of days, or it can be.
His voice might be up.
Anyway, let's listen to the clip. I'm sorry for interrupting.
NBC. I wanted to mention that anyway, because I'm very interested in the kind of audio that comes out of this guy's show, and it's not like anything I expected.
NBC News exit polls showed last night voters between the ages of 18 to 29 made up only 11% of the Democrat electorate, far below the 19% of 18 to 29-year-olds who voted in 2016. Now, we keep being told that the Democrats have all this enthusiasm. They hate Trump. It's just about beating Trump. We got to find anybody who can beat Trump. Trump's got to go. Trump's got to go. The Democrat Party doesn't care who. They're so energized. They hate Trump. They hate the name calling. They hate the mudslinging. They hate the tweeting. They hate Trump. They hate him. They can't wait to get rid of Trump. There is no such enthusiasm.
Well, according to that poll. And by the way, who's going to replace? I mean, I don't want to be morbid about it, but let's just say he goes into a year of treatment and just won't be able to physically work. I'm not going to say he's going to die because I'm not like that. I don't think that way. My mom had lung cancer. I remained positive till the very end. Just
how long did she have it for after her diagnosis? How long did she get go?
She was fine, of course, except for she had a shitty cough, and we all heard it like a death rattle. She went to the doctor. Oh, guess what? Hey, no happy way to say that she got lung cancer. Oh, and by the way, it's the shitty kind. Oh, okay. And the minute they put her on chemo, that's when, the chemo, of course, immediately deteriorated her because that's what chemo does. Then they decided to take out a lung, and she was cancer-free for a year. Then it came back, and it was just months. It was like 3 months. So fast.
Huh.
Yeah. But there's a void, and I don't think Sean Hannity, but what's his name? Mark Stein.
He's already got his own show.
None of these guys will hold the audience. None of them are interesting.
No, this guy was a singular talent.
Yeah.
And
but it does leave a hole in that time slot across the nation.
But when I'm probably going to record a few more things before I hate to be that way. But I've noticed a couple of things in his bit, because I used to always talking to this is a little inside baseball for people. Or anyone who wants to be a podcaster should probably be paying attention. Oh. Is that when you listen to certain guys like Jim Rome, who's a very interesting talent, and he'll repeat stuff. Kind of say the same thing 3 or 4 or 5 times in a row. I never noticed until I recorded some of this Limbaugh stuff and listened to it a second time and then started editing it. Actually, that clip is highly edited because he repeated himself the way Rome does a couple of times. He says something and then he stops and pauses and says it again. Maybe adds another word in there. So he pads the show with this kind of repetitious approach.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I don't know. I'm going to have to listen to Hannity and see if he does the same thing.
Oh, my God. Hannity is unlistenable. I cannot listen. I can't watch him on TV. I can't. I will actually analyze it so we can come back and I can tell you why. But it's something about just his presentation. It's also a smugness. I think he has the uber smug of the right.
Yes, that's why he's got that old style.
Yeah, it's like, shut up.
He's pretty much got the old smug style. Not that Limbaugh's not smug, but nothing like Hannity. Yeah. Hannity's got that old-fashioned smug style with the modern yak approach, where he's not taking, he's the old smug guys used to take a lot of calls. Yeah. This is the new smug.
Anyway, if I had the time, I guess. I would start a show streaming every single day from noon to 3 Eastern time. I'd do it immediately and give people a choice. You can't do his exact shtick, but there's a void there, and someone's gonna fill it up, and it's not gonna be Mark Stein. It's not even gonna be the Rush Limbaugh show. Things do come to an end, but that's pretty much keeping thousands of radio stations alive at this point.
It's going to be a huge problem because they don't know, his substitutes, he brings a lot of them in. Dan Bongino is one of them.
Another one.
These guys, you can only listen to them there's something wrong with these other guys compared to Limbaugh, can keep your attention, and he does good. His analysis is good. That's the thing that's interesting. I've listened to this guy when I'm usually not up to driving around to listen to him, but when I do, I'm always impressed, especially during the election season, of his analysis. He had an analysis. I don't have a clip of it, but he discusses what the Democrat Party's going to have to do if Bernie wins, and who's going to be the VP, kind of the stuff we do.
Yeah.
And he's got this theory that the Democrats. This is the theory, basically. The Democrats know they're going to lose to Trump. The insiders, the hot shots, the big boys,
the guys you follow,
the guys I follow. So who are they going to put up against Trump that can be beat up and without hurting the party long term?
Well,
and he thinks it's Bernie, because Bernie will be beaten. And that'll be the end of this socialism crap. It'll get it out of the way. It's like what happened with when they ran McGovern back in the day against Nixon.
I think that, yes, and as we've discussed here, it is the election America deserves. Hey, you want this guy this direction, you want that guy that direction. That's what we deserve. I think they're truly afraid that Bernie would win, mainly because of the do anything to get Trump out. And I think there's apprehension on their part for that. Everything feels like it. But with Biden out, the question is, I'm sorry.
He's not out
I'm
yet.
sorry. In my world, Biden's out. In the world of MSNBC, Biden's out. What's interesting, and I watched a lot of this coverage. MSNBC is hands down just the one to watch if you want to know what the party line is, because they keep bringing people on, pundits who are either consultants or they're clearly, they're surrogates. I mean, Fox does that too, but they're really pretending to be just interested parties here for the discussion and the conversation. So Joy Reid, who was not ADOS, she's not an African American in the truest sense of the word. But of course, she represents Black America when it comes to MSNBC. And here's what she had to say.
There's only room for her or Buttigieg in that lane. And Biden is really, they're freezing him out. And, what I was saying in the break is that this is sort of a focus group of white voters in the Northeast, in these two states, in these two states. What I see there is that the people coming out of New Hampshire, none of those people have resonance with Black voters. None of them do. The one who has resonance,
the top three, right?
No, the ones who have resonance are Biden, who's getting crushed. And if he doesn't work out, what I'm hearing from Black voters consistently, if Biden goes down, they're going to Bloomberg.
What a nonsense idea.
But listen to the exact words she's saying. She's saying he's getting squeezed. She is repeating lines she's heard. Biden's getting squeezed. He's not going to make it. Black voters. And then and the confusion, of course, is, she is Black, so she must know what African Americans are thinking. What I'm hearing. No, what she's hearing is from the Hillary Clinton camp, or maybe it's Hillary and Bloomberg camp. I actually tried to register Bloomberg Clinton 2020. It's been taken. All of those are gone. BloombergClinton.com also gone. So she's instructed to tell Black people that they should go to Bloomberg. There's no other way to see this. And of course, it's
appealing
stupid.
to the massive Black audience that MSNBC has.
It's not. You get my point.
Yeah. Well, she's trying to do some messaging there on behalf of Hillary.
Well, there was one other message that came in on behalf of Hillary. And let me see. Where was this lady? Well, okay. That sucks.
Well, while you're looking for that, you can continue. I do have a wrap up of the New Hampshire thing. And this is off of Fox Radio. This is the New Hampshire wrap from Fox Radio.
Former Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick suspends his presidential campaign, becoming the third Democrat to drop out following Andrew.
What was it? Let me listen again.
Former Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick suspends his presidential campaign.
What? Right at the moment he should have been there for Black America. Oh, no.
Becoming the third Democrat to drop out following Andrew Yang and Senator Michael Bennet after the New Hampshire primary.
New Hampshire went for Bernie Sanders.
We're going to Nevada. We're going to South Carolina. We're going to win those states as well.
Yeah!
But a close second was former Mayor Pete Buttigieg.
In this election season, we have been told by some that you must either be for revolution or you are for the status quo. But where does that leave the rest of us?
Now, Joe Biden, who finished in 5th place, left early to campaign in South Carolina.
We need to hear from Nevada and South Carolina and Super Tuesday states and beyond.
Senator Amy Klobuchar said she's headed to those states after coming back with a 3rd place finish. Elizabeth Warren, who came in 4th, predicted a long primary fight ahead.
I found my clip. Another person who showed up with Chris Matthews was Adrienne Eldor. And if you saw her, you'd be, oh, yes, I know who this is. Elrod, I'm sorry. Adrienne Elrod. She's
Elrod, like Elrod Hubbard?
Elrod. Echo Lima Romeo Oscar Delta. Elrod. And let me see if I can find it. Now, she is the daughter of lifelong friends, daughter of parents of lifelong friends of Bill and Hillary. She was Hillary for America Strategic Director, Communications and Surrogates.
What's her first name again?
Adrienne, A-D-R.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Adrienne. She's, semi-cute. She's like 40. Your typical. She would actually do well on Fox. She has been a commentator on Fox News, Fox Business. But
I'm looking at her. She's a blonde. I don't recognize her.
Well, I watch more MSNBC than you do, so, and for good reason.
Yeah, I don't die a premature death.
So she's held a variety of positions. The 2008 Hillary Clinton presidential campaign. I mean, you get the point. She is not just working for Clinton, but she is also family friends. And so yes. And she's on the same panel with Joy Reid, and listen to what so I'm just going to presume everything that comes out of her mouth is coming from the Clinton camp. It seems only logical to believe this.
I think Bloomberg's got a lot of money. I think he could spend $1 billion easily. He probably makes $1 billion during the course of this campaign. Seriously. He's just dipping into the till as it comes in. What happens if he's the candidate against Trump? Would he be able to lead the Democrats?
Absolutely.
How does he get to be a Democrat?
Well, he's running the Democratic primary, and he's doing pretty well so far in the polls. Right.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if anybody but I want to say something really quickly about that ad, Chris. I wish that was the ad that I saw Joe Biden closing with in New Hampshire.
So she's right away. Oh, absolutely. He's running the whole campaign. Absolutely. Something's up.
Interesting analysis.
How could it be anything else? So the thinking I have is, well, first of all, March 3rd, which will be an interesting date because that's when I'm on Rogan, is Super Tuesday. And I think we will see the equivalent of an a nuclear bomb of money being dropped on Super Tuesday by Bloomberg. It's just going to be, and by the way, the guy is running. It looks as if he was the vice president for Obama. Have you seen the ads?
Yeah, well, that's one set of the ads. Out here in California, we see all the ads.
Okay, well, I've seen the one where he's with Obama here. He's in the helicopter with Obama. In fact, when he says, I'm Michael Bloomberg and I approve this message, at one point I thought I heard, I'm Barack Obama and I approve this message. It's crazy and kind of insulting towards Joe.
Yeah. I think they're meant to be insulting towards Joe. No, Joe cannot get Obama to help him.
No, and Obama's not going to say anything until there's a candidate. I think that's why he's not making a big deal out. Joe's using some Obama clips now, as he's already on the Biden-Obama administration. It's sad, man. It's sad to watch. So sad.
Pathetic.
But I'm happy about Amy. I'm a big fan. She's got a little juice there. She's on the radar. She will not become president, but she will have elevated her status. I think she's probably a good senator. I think she's good at that. She doesn't have to do much more. And people like her, and she brought what was necessary to the conversation to kind of shake it up. And then all that's left is this amazing surge for PSYOP Pete, who I spoke to Pachenik yesterday.
Briefly.
And he says, what are your clues that, because I mentioned the conversation, PSYOP Pete. He says, oh, what do you think? I said, well, just clearly he's a spook. He's been planted just like Obama. CIA handlers. He says, what's your clue? I said, well, Rhodes Scholar, Harvard, elite, Notre Dame. He said, yeah, what's the other one? I had to think for a second. And then it hit me. Oh, yeah, McKinsey, of course. I mean, that's really the giveaway. McKinsey, and these guys, they are the consultants to the military-industrial complex. They are the consultants to Wall Street. It's the big one. They embed with these organizations. And if you listen to them speak, it's like not a word is out of place. Not a single word is wrong. Nothing that could be misconstrued as anti-anything. It's perfect. I'm not even sure he's gay. That may be an act too. His husband is an improv artist. That's what he does, improv.
Well, that's a funny idea.
Why not? It's perfect. Don't focus on McKinsey. Focus on
kiss.
Yeah, don't focus on McKinsey. Focus on me being gay.
Yeah. Well, somebody posted a picture of him in Afghanistan and then noted that he had. It looked like the whole picture was a fake. He had no badges, no patches, no name tag, no nothing.
He wasn't standing over a dead Iraqi taking a picture.
No. So I think they can jerry rig one of those too. Yeah, the guy there. It could be. That's funny that he's not gay.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't want to take anything away from him. It's just for a moment there, I'm like, well, if you wanted to distract from your obvious spook background, which is rarely mentioned, it's just so similar to Obama that, community organizer. Whenever they say Mayor Pete, it was, and I guess he's no longer the mayor.
Oh, the media's in on this deal. I mean, it wasn't even harped on that George H.W. Bush was actually the director of the CIA for a while. And in Dallas, I guess, during the shooting of Kennedy, and which may or may not be true, but it seems like a good story. But that was never discussed much. It seemed fine. Oh, yeah. Oh, director of the CIA, secret police. He's running the country. That makes sense.
Yeah, why not? What's wrong with that? What's your problem?
So nobody's except us bring up the fact that Buttigieg is a spook.
Yeah, well, it just seems abundantly clear to me. Abundantly clear.
So what else did Pachenik have to say?
Well, actually, it wasn't what he said, but we were talking and then an idea hit me, and I actually want to do a little presentation, if you don't mind.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's a little...
changing the structure of the show.
Well, no, that's not true. From time to time, we do presentations.
Okay.
I mean, I was looking at Trump and China. And China. And it probably, the first thing that got me going was this Frontline special on Trump and trade and China. This will set it up.
Despite the uneven consequences, President Trump was all in on the tariff strategy. It's a strategy he's been talking about for years, as far back as the late 1980s, when he first tested the possibility of becoming president.
Our guest, the famed developer Donald Trump of New York.
Back then, Trump's target was Japan and its trade practices.
The fact is that you don't have free trade. We think of it as free trade, but you right now don't have free trade. And I think a lot of people are tired of watching other countries ripping off the United States. This is a great country.
He believed from the beginning that there's really nothing worse than being laughed at.
They laugh at us. Behind our backs, they laugh at us because of our own stupidity.
And by the way, here's Trump with a much higher voice, too, which, of course, is due to age. This is the 80s. This is 1988.
And he came to see the Japanese as laughing at the United States, at taking advantage of the United States by stealing the jobs, by dumping product here.
We let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible.
After Japan's economy cratered, Trump shifted his ire to a rising economic power, China.
They are ripping us like we've never been ripped before. If you look at Japan, if you look at China,
where we lose $100 billion a year with China.
He's been saying the same thing for 30 years. Donald Trump has a very binary view of life and certainly of the world. And so to confront China, which he perceives as America's most important and dangerous rival, and to be able to use blunt instruments against them and to come out and at least be able to say that you're a winner and they're a loser, it's hard to imagine anything more appealing to the core of his personality.
So I've been wanting to play clips of him talking about China decades ago. And I had even forgotten that because I was in New York when he was coming up, 87, 88. Everyone loved Trump. Half those interviews are from Oprah. And he even said, "Oh, Oprah, you should be my vice president." Anyway, that's when everyone still loved him. So clearly he's always had a grasp of the issues with the trade imbalance. And when Japan was no longer a threat, he shifted to China. It's not just the media that is saying this. His number one guy when he ran the campaign, Steve Bannon, says the same.
First time I ever met Trump, I was, coming out of Goldman Sachs and being somebody that had been in finance for a number of years, I was set to be unimpressed. I was actually very impressed. Now, he didn't know a lot of details. He knew almost no policy. But what I found most extraordinary was when we got to the section on China, which I kind of threw out there, of a 2-hour meeting, almost 30 minutes or more was all about China.
We have a $500 billion trade deficit with China.
The only thing he had formed as a worldview was China.
Because we can't continue to allow China to rape our country, and that's what they're doing. It's the greatest theft in the history of the world.
He talked in this kind of vernacular that kind of hit people in the gut, and particularly when we talked about trade and job shipping overseas.
What was his message to these people on trade? China's to blame?
The message is very simple, is that the elite ship the jobs overseas, and I'm going to bring it back.
And if I look at our show clip archive, we had stuff about China before the 2016 election, but it wasn't really much. It wasn't on our radar unless you can remember some specific instance where we were talking about it in the past before Trump came on the scene.
I think it's only in passing. We every once in a while grouse a little bit like everybody did.
A little bit, but nothing big. We didn't really care. So Trump comes on the scene. And during the initial election process in the campaign, he pretty much, this is it.
Let's say China. 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 You go over to China. 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 You take China. 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 I love them. China. 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 I have to have my China.
Right. China. 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 Now, he rammed that into everybody's head. And he, of course, connected it to the complete removal of manufacturing in the United States. This is before the campaign. This is 2000. Are you eating something?
No, I'm trying to sort through these papers. I'm looking for something. Keep going.
Okay.
Don't interrupt your own presentation.
I want to make sure you're not bored. That's my biggest fear. My biggest fear is
Hold on a second. Stop. If I'm a little bored, I usually say something to get you to move along a little bit, and then you get mad at me, but it's not for me never to say something. I always say something.
No, but I heard you rustling papers, so I'm like, oh,
yes,
he's bored.
I am rustling papers. I am. I can move the mic so you won't hear it.
I just don't want you to be bored. I'm doing it for you, okay? I'm doing it for you.
Jeez, you're doing fine.
All right, we're back to China.
Except for these interruptions.
2010, here's what Trump had to say.
We don't manufacture anything anymore in this country. We do health care.
This is 10 years ago. Let me just remind you, 10 years ago.
We don't manufacture anything anymore in this country. We do health care. We do lots of different services. But the big service is manufacturing. Everything's made in China, for the most part, between China, India, and others, but China in particular. And frankly, they're sending stuff over here, and we're paying for it. And, it's sort of interesting. Very little tax, if any, paid. Mm-hmm. And yet you can't do business in China. You're not allowed to do business in China. It's almost impossible to do business in China. And yet they take our business from North Carolina, from South Carolina, from Alabama. They make toys. They then sell them to this country. They make tremendous profits, and then they loan this country money in the form of treasuries, and I think it's terrible.
Well, so what do we do about China? This is an issue that you're obviously really passionate about. Look at what Google has done, taking a stand in China, saying we're not going to do business this way. You've got...
That's how long ago this was, when Google pretended to take a stand against China.
Saying we're not going to do business this way. You've got big businesses with very different takes on China.
Lots of different businesses, but when it comes to manufacturing, China's making all of these products, and they could be made in North Carolina, they could be made in Alabama, they could be made in lots of our places, and right now they're not. Personally, I'd tax China because it's not a free trade country. I would tax China very, very heavily, and the money that you get from that tax, because some of the products would still get through, even with the tax, but it would create jobs in this country.
So what Trump is saying 10 years ago, which is the most recent one where I found it, where he put it all together, is because of the imbalances, because of how China doesn't play fair and makes their products so incredibly cheap, below cost of what we could do it here. Everyone has sent everything over to China, and the more I look at it, the more amazed I am at what has actually gone to China. In fact, I'll just stop the timeline. This is Rosemary Gibson. She wrote a book called China RX, which you won't hear about because no mainstream media outlet is going to let you rail against the pharmaceutical industry, but it's pretty bad.
It began in the early 90s when generic drugs really came out strong. President Reagan was bipartisan in the 80s. Let's have the Generic Drug Act. And that made medicines a lot cheaper for people. The brand name products would go off patent. So let's make generics. And so over time, how do we make these cheaper? And so we started sourcing the ingredients to make them in China. And then once we opened up free trade, this was a real stunner. So when we opened up free trade and China joined WTO, the next year we lost our last aspirin plant. We lost our ability to make vitamin C. We don't make the ascorbic acid anymore. That's when the last penicillin plant closed. Can't make the core components, the acetyl salicylic acid and the ascorbic. We cannot make it here. And that's because not just opening, quote, free trade, but China cheats with our medicines and cartels. They form these cartels, they dump it on the global market at below market prices, and they drove everybody out.
I didn't know that we don't even make our own aspirin or vitamin C anymore, or that we apparently don't even have the capability to do it. And this is...
We could probably recover the capability.
Oh, we could, but not like you said, hey, I want it tomorrow. Of course we
no,
could.
Well, that would you could do it in a few months, though.
But it is also, you know what? People don't give a shit about this because you're not sick. Well, I'll tell you, if you knew that that we can't make Viagra in America, people would lose their shit. What? China's controlling my dick? What? So it's just a matter of what you know and what you don't know. So Trump gets in. His main message is build a wall, which he also connects to jobs, etc. And we got to bring manufacturing back. That was his consistent message. Before China, really, it was, we got to start the manufacturing. We got to bring steel. We got to have our own steel. We don't have a country. It's national security. We need manufacturing. And whether it's 12,000 factories or 1,200, I don't know. He started something.
We will pour new concrete, lay new brick, and watch new sparks light our factories as we forge metal from the furnaces of our Rust Belt and our beloved heartland, which has been forgotten, but it's not forgotten anymore. We will put new American steel into the spine of our country. American workers will construct gleaming new lanes of commerce across our landscape. They will build these monuments from coast to coast and from city to city. We will embark on a wonderful new journey into a bright and glorious future. We will build again. We will grow again. We will thrive again. And we will make America great again.
Right. So then he gets into the whole, and this is, I think, actually from a State of the Union, his first one. And then he's talking trade wars, tariffs. We're going to, finally, he's got the power. He's going to do it. He said, I'm going to, what he's been promising for all these years, I would tax him. China, of course, calls his bluff.
I have been very consistent.
U.S. President Donald Trump says he wants to hit China with a big fine on trade.
But in the capital, Beijing, experts and insiders say there's little sense of a crisis. Voices in the US business community have warned China that the US president is serious about tough action on trade. And he told Reuters in an exclusive interview potential big damages are on the way. However, Reuters' Michael Martina in Beijing says officials think Trump is bluffing.
So here in China, the sense we get is that Chinese officials aren't overly concerned about the threat of trade action by the Trump administration. For one, they feel that perhaps the Trump administration doesn't have the political standing and sort of will to endure the economic fallout.
Well, we did, and he put the tariffs on to much chagrin of the markets, and it was, I mean, we forget these things, or at least I do, and oh shit, yeah, I remember everyone was pissed off about it. What's going on? Do we have is there a trade war? Is there no trade war? And everything seems to be okay. We still have tariffs, but then there were a couple other things, some economic blows. ZTE, we're like, nah, you can't sell here anymore. Android, you can't have that. 5G, yeah, we're not so sure we want you in our networks. So this is economic warfare, pushing down, pushing back, and then we get phase one of the trade deal. And phase one has some very specific things that China must do, although, of course, they have an out under the force majeure clause, which says, well, you know, if something happens, then we can always figure it out later. But that takes place. Then we have Barr, who is the Attorney General, and we have Pompeo, the Secretary of State, going out into the heartlands to talk about what we need to do about China's encroachment on pretty much everything. So I think this is the clip that I played. This is Pompeo. He's setting them up here. This is the National Governors Association, the winter meeting, which was just held.
Last year, I received an invitation to an event that promised to be, quote, an occasion for exclusive deal-making. It said, quote, the opportunities for mutually beneficial economic development between China and our individual states are tremendous, end of quote. Deal-making sounds like it might have come from President Trump, but the invitation was actually from a former governor. I was being invited to the U.S.-China Governors Collaboration Summit. It was an event co-hosted by the National Governors Association and something called the Chinese People's Association for Friendship and Foreign Countries. Sounds pretty harmless. What the invitation did not say is that the group I just mentioned, is the public face of the Chinese Communist Party's official foreign influence agency, the United Front Work Department. Now, I was lucky. I was familiar with that organization from my time as the director of the Central Intelligence Agency. But it got me thinking, how many of you made the link between that group and Chinese Communist Party officials? What if you made a new friend while you were at that event? What if your new friend asked you for introductions to other politically connected and powerful people? What if your new friend offered to invest big money in your state, perhaps in your pension, in industries sensitive to our national security? These aren't hypotheticals. These scenarios are all too true, and they impact American foreign policy significantly. Indeed, last year, a Chinese government-backed think tank in...
Yes.
So is he expressing this as though this is a new phenomenon that he stumbled upon and everybody else was oblivious to?
No.
Even though,
where
was he when he was the head of the CIA and this was going on? This has been going on.
Yes, that's the point.
For 20 years.
That's the point. Barr is probably introducing this to these governors who are a bunch of tired-looking people in this audience, and he's saying, hey, we know this has been going on. We know what's happening. He's doing it rhetorically because of the audience that he's speaking to. He doesn't want to say, hey, you shitheads, are you
Pompeo,
insane?
Not Barr,
No,
right?
it's Pompeo, correct. What he's saying is, hey, you shitheads, look at what you've done. You've possibly compromised national security. You've let them in. You've taken money from them. So it's a friendly way of saying, this is not good what you've done.
And powerful people. What if your new friend offered to invest big money in your state, perhaps in your pension, in industries sensitive to our national security? These aren't hypotheticals. These scenarios are all too true, and they impact American foreign policy significantly. Indeed, last year, a Chinese government-backed think tank in Beijing produced a report that assessed all 50 of America's governors on their attitudes towards China. They labeled each of you friendly, hardline, or ambiguous. I'll let you decide where you think you belong. Someone in China already has.
So, he's setting him up. He's setting him up, teeing him up for what he's got to say. Meanwhile, the same week, this is just last week, the same week, Barr talked to a bunch of entrepreneurs and captains of industry about 5G.
And other countries that do not want to put their economic fate in China's hands are not going to install Huawei's infrastructure. We have to have a market-ready alternative today. You need a system that will allow you to seamlessly migrate your installed 4G base to 5G. There have been some proposals that these concerns could be met by the United States aligning itself with Nokia and or Ericsson.
So that was his idea. And this is the Attorney General out there doing these speeches. They've been sent into the field. The final clip, which makes it even a little bit more clear. Nothing we haven't talked about since almost the beginning of this show. But Pompeo again reiterates to the governors.
The FBI director, and I think the Attorney General too, talked yesterday about something called the 1,000 Talents Plan. It's a plan to recruit scientists and professors to transfer the know-how we have here to China in exchange for enormous paydays. The program's probably targeted campuses in your state. Indeed, the Department of Justice has indicted professors in my home state at the University of Kansas and at Virginia Tech and at Harvard. A Texas A&M investigation reportedly discovered more than 100 academics participating in Chinese talent recruitment plans. Only 5 of them had declared that they were participating in this program. And goodness knows what else we've not discovered. There are indeed very credible reports of Chinese government officials pressuring Chinese students studying right here in the United States of America, to monitor fellow Chinese students and to report back to Beijing. Many of you are familiar with Confucius Institutes. Confucius Institutes purport to have the sole purpose of teaching Mandarin language skills and Chinese culture. A bipartisan Senate committee found last year in 2019 that the Chinese Communist Party controls nearly every aspect of the Confucius Institute's activities here in the United States. Over the past few months, the University of Missouri, the University of Kansas, the University of Maryland have independently decided to close down their Confucius Institutes after conducting their own reviews. And schools in 22 other states are doing or have already done the same. Sadly, China's propaganda campaign starts even earlier than college. China has targeted K-12 schools through its Confucius Classrooms, the CCP's program, to influence kids in elementary, middle, and high schools around the world. Do you know that we have no ability to establish similar programs in China? I'm sure that doesn't surprise you. President Trump's talked about reciprocity in trade. We should have reciprocity in all things. Today, they have free reign in our system, and we're completely shut out from theirs. As of 2017, there were 519 of these classrooms in the United States. Beijing knows that today's kids are tomorrow's leaders. The China competition is happening. It's happening in your states, and it's a competition that goes to the very basic freedoms that every one of us values.
So to summarize, Trump has been on to the Chinese for decades. He sees the threat. He sees what the seeping in of the Chinese all throughout our everything, our schooling, our economy, our manufacturing. All manufacturing was gone. We can't even make our own pharmaceuticals if we needed to at the drop of a hat. He just doesn't. I think he saw it as war, that we were attacked. So he sets up a new manufacturing boom. I don't know how far it is, but I guess we're doing something. We got a plant here, a plant there. Then it's like, the Chinese are going to, investing money here. Jack Ma is going to put money in this, so we can handle some of that manufacturing. We get a trade deal in place. The economy is starting to have a problem in China, mainly just their own financials. They lie about everything, so they have this whole IOU secondary money flow that is probably stopped right now. All of this stuff is set up, and then all of a sudden, when China is arguably a little bit weak, Wuhan flu. Now tell me we are not at war with China, and whether that was a targeted strike from us or a very coincidental happenstance, this is war, and we just maybe issued a kill shot.
Well, I like the presentation.
Thank you.
I'm not going to go as far as you went with the conclusion. I think there's no proof that the Wuhan flu is anything other than what it is, another coronavirus which attacks Chinese just naturally.
But can I just interrupt you? I didn't say this was a bioweapon. It's just a flu. I think it passes. I think it will be gone. There's just a lot of Chinese, and maybe he just took advantage of the situation. Maybe this is all
COVID-19, man.
Maybe this is all media hype. Maybe it isn't all that bad. Maybe all the stuff we're hearing has been manufactured. Maybe there's not really 500,000 dead and these satellite photos. Maybe that's not bodies burning. Maybe it's all just media. And what it has done successfully is, bike parts are no longer being shipped. There's an actual steel manufacturer that is called force majeure.
I'll summarize what you're going to say. But whatever the reason or how this ever came about, which is not uncommon in China for these epidemics to take place.
Exactly.
The fact that they had to shut down the city of Wuhan, that's the only thing we can be sure of.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe any of the crematorium stuff. It makes no sense. But they did do a complete shutdown, and it resulted in shortages that American manufacturers now have to deal with.
Yes.
Is the warning shot is, hey, this is what you guys have done to yourselves. You've become so dependent on this one channel that what happens if this channel goes away completely? What happens?
Excellent point. I like that even better as the conclusion, that this is more. More. I'm sorry?
I thought that's what you were headed
for. I didn't get to the second part, which is a warning shot to U.S. manufacturing. That part I hadn't. But that makes total sense.
Source someplace else, people.
But while we were all looking at Russia and impeachment and Ukraine, this has just been going on in the background. It's just been happening. Just like, I guess now that in the latest spending bill, there is actual money to build the wall, which no one is out there yelling that he can't do it. They have other things that are more powerful because they know that most Americans want some kind of border protection. So that's why, Vindman, like whatever. Vindman. I hear he purged 70 from the National Security Council, 70 people.
Yeah. No, he's trying to. Well, it bloated.
Well, no kidding. 250 or something like that.
With a bunch of people that should be it used to be like 20 people total.
Yeah.
Now this is like all these people that Obama shoved in there as, kind of like almost like it was a patronage. He's from Chicago.
Yeah.
And patronage is the way to go. In other words, you create something and just keep stuffing people in it. They don't have anything to do there. They just get a paycheck.
Yeah.
And that's what the way Chicago politics used to always be. It was called patronage. And that is when you won, you became the mayor, you got the people, there's all these empty slots and you get to put all your buddies in there. You see a little bit of that in places like Berkeley, where when one of the mayors got in, first thing he did was take city money and build a bunch of housing and put all his pals in there.
It's what you do.
It's an old fashioned way of doing it. And that's what Obama did quite nicely. Trump sees no reason for patronage. He just has his family, and so you get rid of all these jokers.
Yeah. So anyway, it'll be very interesting to see what the next moves are. But that's how I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it from a, and part of this was Pachenik is very adamant about saying we're not going to have kinetic wars anymore. It's just not. He says it's going to all be cyber. Says space is very important, although he's very down on the idea of the Air Force initially manning the Space Force. He thinks that they're no good. Like really thinks they're no good. He's all into the national Geospatial Agency, which changed their name to the Geospatial Intelligence Agency.
Yeah,
recently
they had to do that for their pride. Because that's what they were doing all along.
Yeah, until everyone else came in with their stupid internet. What the hell, man? You with your internet spying, that's no good. I'm just going to look at it that way, that's what a lot of this is about. And, we're all running around.
Well, then you got to take it to the next step with the secondary presentation.
Okay.
Why are the Democrats, and specifically the liberals and the socialists even, all of them are so dead set against Trump accomplishing what he's trying to accomplish?
Well, that's easy.
What is it? The benefit?
That's easy. That's easy. Money. Washington, D.C. is just filled with lobbyists who have tons of Chinese money. They own Hollywood. China owns most of Hollywood at this point. And one of the main guys in D.C. is Ambassador Kui Tiankai. And this is a mover, a shaker. He's at all the right parties. He's got tons of dough. You can register. Most people don't, but you can register under FARA, Foreign Agent Registration Act. And you can go just be in bars, talk about China, talk them up. How about New York, Times Square? Where's that money go? There's money. There's tons of money going into campaigns. It's rife. Of course.
So it's corrupt from it's Chinese corruption has taken over the Democrat Party. Is that what you're saying?
And not just the Democrat Party. Come on, let's be honest about this. All politicians are susceptible to this. But the Democrats, yeah. Obama bowed when he went. He's the Chi-Coms. Like, hey, that was one of the first things he did.
He almost fell over.
He bowed so low. No, they were all about China because that's where all the money was. You know, there's a lot of
the Clintons are also about China. They gave them most of
the nuclear secrets.
Yeah, and then I can see Romney being all up in China because of his connection to Bain Capital. It's Chinese money.
Of course.
Well, we're doomed.
I do have a clip from Face of the Nation.
Thank God there's some people out there that have a clue. We're getting no Chinese money.
No, thank you. How good life would be. Listen, China,
use the money.
We got your number. You want us to let up? Dvorak.org/NA. We'll talk. So here's the Chinese ambassador who was on Face the Nation with a very interesting way of evading the question about the the coronavirus being a possible biological agent. Listen carefully.
Senator Tom Cotton, who sits on the Senate Intelligence and Armed Services Committee, suggested that the virus may have come from China's biological warfare program. That's an extraordinary charge. How do you respond to that?
I think it's true that a lot is still unknown. And our scientists, Chinese scientists, American scientists, scientists of other countries are doing their best to learn more about the virus. But it's very harmful, it's very dangerous to stir up suspicion, rumors, and spread them among the people. For one thing, this will create panic. Another thing is that it will fan up racial discrimination, xenophobia, all these things that will really harm our joint efforts to combat the virus. Of course, there are all kinds of speculation and rumors. There are people who are saying that these viruses are coming from some military lab, not of China, maybe in the United States. How can we believe all these crazy things?
You think it's crazy? Where did the virus come from?
Absolutely crazy.
Where did the virus come from?
We still don't know yet. It's probably, according to some initial outcome of the research, probably coming from some animals. But we have to discover more about it.
It's interesting. He doesn't actually deny it. He doesn't say, no, that's not possible. And he says, well, it's very harmful to have these rumors. Some people say it's from America. Like, he never said no.
He starts a rumor. Well, the interesting thing about that interview is that his first phrase, when she asked the question, the very first thing he says is that, and this is a truth wants to come out.
I know exactly what
yes, it's true.
I know. Let's listen again. You're so right. I was ready.
Senator Tom Cotton, who sits on the Senate Intelligence and Armed Services Committee, suggested that the virus may have come from China's biological warfare program. That's an extraordinary charge. How do you respond to that?
I think it's true that a lot is still unknown.
I think it's true
that a lot is still unknown. There you go.
And of course, if you're going to be asked a question like that, this is just all the elements of a lie.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just say no.
That would be the simple way to do it. Did you have anything on Wuhan or?
No, nothing new. I mean, I might have. Let's see what's on the list.
No, I have this one, which is not really new, but it's worth mentioning. Here we go.
We also have a new name for the virus. The World Health Organization is calling it COVID-19. Benjamin Newman is Professor of Biological Sciences at Texas A&M University, and he was on the panel considering these new names. He told the BBC what's involved in choosing a name for the virus.
I'll just stop here for a second. This is so disappointing to me.
Yeah, it sounds like a birth control pill.
We name hurricanes. We give them girl names, boy getting boy names. Why do we have to do this COVID-19?
So we're trying not to name check a person, a place. And on the coronavirus naming committee, we decided not to actually include 2019 in the name, as the WHO did when they were naming the disease. The idea was that there are actually 5 other coronaviruses that have had outbreaks this year, including MERS coronavirus. And so the year isn't particularly indicative.
Okay. Blah, 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 blah. You guys are not good marketers. That's the bottom. Marketeers.
The clip I have is the WHO about the World Health Organization COVID. Now, this is WHO COVID-19 clip.
The World Health Organization is warning the coronavirus poses a grave threat to the world as the death toll in China tops 1,100 people with more than 44,000 confirmed infections worldwide.
With 99% of cases in China, this remains very much an emergency for that country, but one that holds a very grave threat for the rest of the world, unless we use the window of opportunity that we have now.
Meanwhile, at least 174 people have now tested positive for coronavirus on the quarantine cruise ship, the Diamond Princess, which is docked off the coast of Japan. There are 3,600 people aboard the ship, where crew members say the workers aren't being protected from infection.
Yeah. Well, that'll go on for a little bit longer until it's just dropped. And, they changed the counting methodology, so now it looks like we had a huge spike in cases and deaths. So that the thing that actually probably hurt the market a little bit this morning, but it's back up again. So this is all, you're being played. I think you're just being played. This is not, I just don't see this as being any, like kind of when we started out, like we've been through this, we've been through this movie, John. We did this swine flu, H1N1, SARS. Haven't we seen it all? And it's like, no, old people die from pneumonia. People who are already
more people die
compromised.
just a regular old-fashioned flu.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of playing going on. But at least now we can pay attention, and maybe some companies will learn their lesson. Apple might have learned their lesson. They brought some minute manufacturing back to the States. We'll see who else learns a lesson. But for sure, there's going to be stuff that we don't have anymore for a while. I think it's almost impossible that they can get things going fast enough to it's all, as we talked about, just in time. So people are going to start losing, missing out on parts.
Missing out in time.
Exactly.
MOIT.
And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage. Say in the morning to you, the man who put the C in the ambassador's Chinese name, John C. Dvorak.
In the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. In the morning, all ships at sea, boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
Yes, in the morning to our trolls who've been very trolly. Super trolly today.
Trolly.
Yeah, they've been very trolly. I'm doing my whole presentation, and they're just making racist jokes. Sad. Well, at least you can do it here. That's kind of what the troll room is for. So we're glad that you're having fun. Let me see how many people are in there trolling at the moment. Live troll count. 1,087 trolls doing their job. Also, a big in the morning to the artist who brought us the artwork for episode, what were we? 1215. And let me just bring that up for a second. The title of that was Omnipocalypse, which I still think we've titled another show Omnipocalypse somewhere in the past. But
no, never.
Can't help. I want to thank Darren O'Neill. That's right. The man with the plan. Darren O from the radio. And he brought us the artwork. It was, you couldn't ask for more. Intelligentsia with the appropriate nerd smiley face. Joined the Intelligentsia. The artwork popped. It was funny. It was relevant to what was discussed. And I don't think there was even a second. That was one and done, I think.
Yeah.
Do you remember? You don't remember.
I don't remember.
You don't remember. Well, it was perfect, and we love it. And again, when you look at your podcast app and you see that artwork change and something fresh is there. It invites you to listen, the whole point, part of our Value for Value network. Thank you very much, Darren O'Neill. Then we have people who support the show financially. These are our associate executive producers, and we start with our executive producers at the top of the list.
Indeed. And at the very top of the list today is Dave Fugazotto.
Ah, the Earl.
The Earl Dave. And he sent a feature-length film script to be read.
With lighting directions.
Yes. He contributed 428.20, and this, of course, is he's one of our top guys at the moment. And so this script, I have the treatment here.
Oh, yes.
Shortens it a little bit.
A side, as we call that. I got my side here. Yeah.
And I'm going to read it. I tried to edit it, but it's one of these stories. He likes to tell these tales of travel, and they're interesting enough that it's probably worth reading. I skipped a couple of things, but not too much. My dames are traveling for another competition, so bunches of flour would just be another thing to topple over while driving, and drop petals and leaves around the hotel room is generally troublesome. Therefore, because I love them, I'm donating $214.10 for each of Dame. Should be $214.20. I wonder if I put 10 or 20 into the thing. For each Dame Melody and Dame Isabella for a $428.20 donation of eternal love. This is the Valentine's Day donation.
Yes, of course. It's beautiful.
As I'm sure, by the way, nobody else, maybe one other person.
What, everybody hates their lovers?
They hate their moms and dads, according to our show. Our research has indicated this.
We kind of knew this, didn't we?
As I am sure it said many a relationship is true. If you really love me, this is a quote of his. If you really loved me, you donate to No Agenda.
No, I'm sorry, I'm off script.
It's true.
Wait a minute.
Happy St. Valentine's Day to my dames. And now a cautionary tale. Here we go.
That's true.
The travel
Sorry.
I'm late.
I'm late.
I did it myself. The travel karma for my work trip worked perfectly. And I was once again smuggled into the harem zone for a delightful supper at a classy establishment called TGI Fridays in Saudi Arabia. I have attached a photo from the inside for your amusement. However, I overlooked asking for travel karma for a short trip the following weekend to a place called Al Ula. I went there to see the ancient tombs of Medain Saleh, sometimes referred to as Saudi Arabia's Petra. It's the name it's the same Nabalaean kingdom, but further south. The karmic lapse resulted in numerous avoidable inconveniences. I request No Agenda Nation's indulgence as I recount this experience for the benefit of all producers. Okay.
Wait, it was long. It was longer than this. This is an abbreviated version.
Well, I only took out a few things.
Oh, okay.
My pre-booked lodging was apparently a date palm orchard. There was not a building in sight, and it would indicate a place to lay down after a day of preambulations. Fortunately, a random stranger who I asked directions offered to let me stay at his rest house, so it worked out, and I wasn't murdered in my sleep
or anything.
Yay!
Come on, if you're going to wait for me, you got to read the whole script if you want me to be on cue.
I took that one out, by the way. There are exactly 0 taxi cabs and 6 Ubers in the entire town, enough for a major festival. Winter at Tantora has been going on for several months. Those Ubers are also conveniently Uber vintage Land Rovers, and one gets the privilege of paying 2 to 3 times the normal rate. Anyway, he goes on about that. But I will say, okay, it gets a little better. He says these Ubers didn't run half the time, and so he didn't want to miss the whole reason for the trip. The tombs of Medain Saleh. I figured I better start walking. This time, however, after about 3 kilometers, another kindly stranger stopped and offered me a ride. I don't know what he's wearing. Inconveniences aside, the place is amazing. Jingle request amazing. And I got to see Yanni, who in these white parts and in his white pants and sport coat, he looked suspiciously like Tulsi Gabbard.
Do you remember Yanni?
Well, this is what got me to stop for a second. I actually did a little work on this letter.
Married to Linda Evans.
I went to Dubai for some event. It was about at least 10 years ago. And the term Yanni was bandied about as some sort of an insult, and they would call you a Yanni.
Really?
Yeah. And so I remember this very distinctly. And so now all of a sudden, Fugazoto is going to see Yanni. And so I had to look up, do some work and find that Yanni indeed was playing in Saudi Arabia. And he was playing at the same place, Al Ula, which is a mirrored palace entertainment venue, which I find it hard to believe you can't get a cab or something to go there and back and forth. But according to maybe you're not supposed to be there. I'm not sure why it's so hard to get to. And so he was playing there. It was there this last weekend.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, who's going to go see Yanni in Saudi Arabia? This is the screwiest thing ever. This is a screwball letter.
I'm adding a little Yanni music to the background for you.
The experience reinforced a few things for me. While traveling and embracing the moment, keeping your sense of humor, and keep going with the flow is essential. I have the same advice for people. My advice is to keep moving. Just keep moving. Just keep moving. You'll be fine. Although, let's be honest, Dame Melody would not have been amused by the experience. He had, at one point had to walk 7 kilometers.
Nor by Yanni, believe me.
Oh, yeah, Yanni. I don't know what Although, to be honest, Dame Melody would not have been amused. Most importantly, travel karma only works if you ask for it.
That's right.
So donate, douchebags. Get some karma of your own. Having learned a hard lesson, please give us a wee bit of Irish dance travel goat karma for the girls. And a bonus dose of goat scream for me as I travel to Bahrain for Friday's most marvelous Middle East meetup in Manama.
Manamana.
Or Manama. Manamana. Manamana. It's going to be magnificent. Okay.
All right. Well, I wonder if when he's back stateside, if he'd be interested going to a John Tish concert with me. I think we've found a good luck.
You've got karma.
Extra goat. Thank you very much, Sir Dave, the Earl, with a script.
Okay, we got Anonymous, $333.33 from Norman, Oklahoma. I said he has a note, and indeed he does, but it's a note he says he doesn't want anyone to read. Now, this is, if you thought that was long, this note is 3 times longer. 3 times, 3 X's, 3 printed. Anyway, he just, no jingles, no karma, so... In the note,
is the note
it's a very good note, by the way. This is a very entertaining note too, and I enjoy it. Brian McDonough, $300.49 is next on the list. Greetings, gents. Longtime listener, an infrequent donor. Love the show and the amygdala right sizing, which has resulted from listening. I'm trying. This is interesting. I'm trying to wean my wife from M5M by pointing out. Pointing out.
Can I make a recommendation? If you're trying to wean someone off of something, or if you want to introduce them, animated no agenda. Give them that. Just say, hey, check this out. I think that is your gateway. Animated no agenda is a gateway drug to the good stuff.
I agree. Anyway, I'd like to request a bowling karma for my human resource who has a big tournament this week in Las Vegas. I think that's good.
Yes, it's interesting you left off the point that he knows you're a bowler, so I don't know if people realize that.
Yeah, well, I used to be.
You have a ball. You have a ball and a glove.
I have a ball and shoes.
You've got karma.
It's like I have dance shoes.
He says that you get $300.49 so in case he gets a 300 game or converts a 4-9 split. I mean, it's not the worst split in the world. 7-10 is the worst split in the world, I think. Actually, a 5-7-10, which is the worst split because it's also an embarrassment that you left it.
Not that you're a bowler or anything.
I left a 5-7-10 once in my life, and I was just I felt so bad.
For the team,
that's our their executive producers. We have to drop down to associate executives now. So we It's not a big day for us, so we're padding it. Sir Donald Sylvan, Ewa Beach, Hawaii, comes in with $250 and sends a very short note on a card.
Yes.
He says, at 83, I don't have many more opportunities to donate to No Agenda. I'd like it all that you do mostly. Thanks for the great podcast. Aloha, Don.
Hey, Don, first of all, aloha to you, my friend, and thank you. And I wouldn't worry too much. And I saw a vet the other day on TV, 104. And, you know, we live a lot longer these days. So we're hoping to hear from you a lot more, and I'm giving you a karma for that.
You've got karma.
Must be committed.
Nadine Zanotti in Arcadia, California, comes in with $250, and she sent a card. Another card with a heart drawn on it. Oh, actually, maybe that's printed. Happy Valentine's Day to the best podcast in the universe. Instead of chocolates, etc., I decided to donate an expensive something. An expensive producer title to the best husband ever.
Aww.
Aaron Marino. Because of him, I have become a listener, an avid listener. So she writes in an old-fashioned handwriting that is
beautiful, I'm sure.
It's pretty, but hard to read.
Yeah.
Avid listener, because like the avid, for example, looks like ARID. So he's either an avid listener or an arid listener. I'm not sure.
I think avid.
So he deserves it. Oh yeah, she also does the tease, the funny tease that I don't. She's like European. He did not have to beat me up. Hit me in the mouth, smiley face. But he needs to donate again. Oh. Otherwise, a douchebag call out is on the agenda.
Oof.
Just saying.
Yeah, I had my finger on the button. It's hovering.
Happy Valentine's Day to everybody.
Oh, happy Valentine's Day.
She would like goat karma for everyone.
Sure thing, Nadine. Thank you for your courage.
You've got karma.
She is followed by Anonymous 23456. Please keep me anonymous. Thank you for the infotainment you provide. The donation is long overdue, as I've been listening to since the DSC days.
Oh, daily source code. Wow.
I can sit still no longer. Please de-douche me.
Okay.
You've been de-douched.
I was finally compelled to chip in after hearing Sir Michael Garrett donate and realized that there was no agenda royalty at the same small law firm I'm currently working in Canada.
Huh.
The deconstruction you provide is absolutely invaluable. Keep up the good work, and I could use some Nancy Pelosi jobs, Carmen, to help me land a summer law job.
Right.
For jingles, I'd like if the innocent committed a crime thing, that one that Brennan.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good, and that's true. Thanks again.
People are innocent until alleged to be involved in some type of criminal activity.
I think that sounds pretty good.
That's true.
Jobs,
nice
jobs,
combo.
and jobs.
Yeah.
Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Nice.
Very nice combo.
Very good. I like the combo too.
Remy Cooter, Kueter in Voorburg.
Voorburg.
Oh, Voorburg, Netherlands. $200. Dear John and Adam, I'm leaving utter douchiness behind and aspiring knighthood sometime in the future. Keep up the good work and all the best from Stinkfinger, a.k.a. the plague from The Hague. The Thug District.
The Thug.
Thug.
The Hague Underground Thug. Nice. Very, very gangsta of you. I think Ramy tweeted me about this. Well, thank you for your courage. It's appreciated. Very much so, in fact.
Okay, good. She didn't ask for a de-douching, but you ought to give her one.
Oh, okay. Well, Ramy might be a dude. So,
it could be. Yeah, no, it probably is a dude.
But
Ramy's not a popular woman's name.
Okay, well, here we go with the
You've been de-douched.
There you go. And then we'll see you at the round table soon enough, then, I guess. Very nice. Very nice. And I'd like to say...
that's our group of well-wishers, associate executive producers and producers executive producers for show 1216.
Yes, and I'd like to say happy Valentine's Day to my beautiful wife, Tina the Keeper.
I'm saying Valentine's Day to my daughter and my wife and all the relatives that are women.
And the ships at sea.
Boots on the ground.
That, just as a quick aside. So Tina really wanted to take my last name and be Tina Curry. This is shit. Do you have any idea how hard this is to change your name on stuff these days? It's insane.
Why?
Oh, you can't. It's not just like, okay, here, I've changed it here, Social Security office. That's not enough. Oh no, and you've got to sit at the DMV, and then you've got to go to the title company for the house, and then the passport, which is another. It's never ending. Credit card. Oh, got to change. It's almost not worth it. It's really, really insane how hard that is.
How hard is it to keep both names?
What do you mean? Keep her original name and have it's like two names?
Yeah.
Oh, please. No, when you travel, like, so she'd done everything. She's like, oh shit, we have tickets to Florida. It's under her maiden name or under previous name. But now she has a driver's license with Tina Curry on it. That's a non-starter. So luckily she hadn't done the passport yet. So you just got to think of all this stuff. It's like they don't want you to do it. Really, shut up, slave. Keep your name or something like that. I don't know.
Easier to track.
It's yeah. Well, it seems like it's an opportunity.
Start changing your name, you can't be tracked as easy.
Well, they definitely don't let you change your name very easily. But yes, Valentine to her. And we'd like to thank these fine producers who had their own Valentine's notes for themselves. Thank them for their courage and for their support of the best podcast in the universe. After all, it's your podcast. You're the one producing it. Someone, and maybe that was Remy, someone on Twitter said, holy crap, how do you guys do that? Do you do your own research? Where do you get the clips from? Do you have a producing staff? I said, yes. Thousands.
Can you stop? I think I forgot to mention Miss Jamie of the Highway, $214.33.
Oh, no. Yes, you did.
Because I was looking at it saying, it's funny nobody else put in $214 for Valentine's Day. Then I'm looking, I see Miss Jamie of the Highway.
Oh.
And all it says on there on the line, which is just says ID Miss Jamie of the Highway, $214.33 from somewhere in the USA.
Well, Miss Jamie.
You have been. Yes.
Yes.
I see what we got here. This is a Valentine's Day call out to Miss Jamie from someone, but the way it came through is awkward, and so we don't know. Miss Jamie, you know who it is.
We hope.
We hope.
I'll give it a karma as well.
You've got
the karma. As well. All right. Well, that makes Miss Jamie an associate executive producer of episode 1216, and we thank our executive producers and associate executive producers alike. We like to thank them at the beginning, or more or less the beginning of the show, kind of like Hollywood does. You open up the show and then you have your credits. And these are the people, the movers, the shakers that make it happen. But we have a lot of other people to thank who made this episode possible. We'll do that in our second segment. For now, please accept your titles and our gratitude. Thank you for your courage. And if you'd like to participate in the grand experiment known as the No Agenda Value for Value Network. Very simple for our Sunday show. All you need to do is go to
Dvorak.org/NA.
And with that, you're up to speed on everything. You look so smart when you talk about China.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
I have a couple of randos.
Ooh, a rando.
I got a couple of randos for you.
Yeah.
I got 3 quick randos. This is a new term, I guess. The first rando is the latest diet commercial from the diet company Jenny Craig. Now, Jenny Craig is like Nutrisystem, like Weight Watchers. It's crappy food in the right portions. And I think it's really portion control that they send to you. It's a food company, and they only send you enough to kind of like starving you out. And if you don't cheat, then of course you will lose weight. But they've added a twist to it. Oh, yeah.
I just got my results back, and I literally am so excited. Getting your DNA tested gives you just that much of an extra advantage. It creates a very specific plan for you.
Who doesn't want to get the edge and figure out how to do this?
Buy the plan and get a free DNA weight loss kit.
DNA weight loss kit. Wow. I had no idea that DNA was, they're so advanced. You look at the fine print, of course, it's nothing. There's nothing. There's no DNA gene that says, oh, well, if you only cut back on the
fatso. Yeah.
Cut back. Yeah, that would be the message. Hey, eat the food. You're a lost cause. You got the fatso gene. I don't know what that is about. Maybe it's just trendy, but they are the DNA weight loss kit, please.
Well, if you're going to play a short one, I got a short one, too.
All right, okay.
This is unfortunately, it's under the letter K. It says Kying. We didn't play this, but we should, and people have never heard it. This is Joe Biden calling somebody a dog-faced pony soldier.
Number one, I was a Democratic caucus. You ever been to a caucus? No, you haven't. You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
Very bizarre.
Well, that comes. Yeah, he took that from a John Wayne movie, apparently.
Oh,
although there's no evidence that John Wayne.
I've never heard.
That's his old story from years ago.
I've never heard John Wayne say that. I wonder what movie that was.
No, I think Biden is just acting silly. It's funny when he says something like that. It's so well mic'd.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Here's another rando, which is good news for you and for me, as it's good news for the president.
A big relief for tall men. Height may protect against dementia. Taller young men have a lower risk of the memory-robbing disorder. Researchers examined intelligence test scores, environmental and genetic factors, as well as height through a lifetime. eLife reports a study of more than 666,000 men over 20 years revealed the benefit height offers when it comes to a diagnosis of dementia. Finding ways to predict the risk of dementia may give doctors a hint at earlier diagnosis and interventions to aid patients.
Well, there you go.
Or shit.
But, hey, let me hold on to my dream, okay? I don't want.
I got an ISO from a Amy Goodman's Bloomberg ISO, and I could never. The clip wasn't good enough to use, but I thought the ISO might be good.
I can't find.
Bloomberg.
Oh, I got it.
Bloomberg is racist.
Ooh, close.
What do you mean close?
I mean, it's now I have to compare.
You got to beat it.
Well, I'm going to play it again because I'd like to compare. We have competing ISOs. ISO number 1.
Bloomberg is racist.
ISO number 2.
I'm the president of the United States. I have all of the power.
Okay, here's the way I see it.
Okay.
The Bernie clip is lots better. I mean, it's one of the great ISOs ever.
It's a classic ISO. It's a CLISO.
So that is a CLISO, and so you can keep that in abeyance. Because it's always good. You can use that.
The word abeyance, somehow, does that mean I'm screwed on this deal? If you say abeyance?
No, you can do what you want. You do the ISOs. It's your call. Because you're there like a madman finishing the show. And then you punch up the ISO. It just seems to me that you can use that a lot.
Yeah. Okay. So when I don't have it, okay. I see your logic, and meeting adjourned.
You can use it today if you want.
Meeting adjourned. Meeting adjourned. This is the end of show ISO.
Bloomberg is racist.
That's beautiful. It's just beautiful. The final rando, shorty rando for you from Sandy Ocasio-Cortez.
It's funny you asked this because I was just reading today about how Milton Keynes, a famous...
You were yapping through it. I'll play it again so you can listen.
It's funny you asked this because I was just reading today about how Milton Keynes, a famous economist back in the day, predicted that by 2030, U.S. GDP would grow 6 to 8 times what it is, which would allow for everyday people to work 15 hours a week.
I love Milton Keynes. I've read all his books. Should it not be Maynard Keynes? Is that not
John Maynard Keynes and
yes.
Milton Friedman?
Yes, she just got Scott Adams, by the way, thought this was great, that this only solidifies her position as future president.
Yes, he did say that.
He should be sharing his drugs. And I have another text message from the president from the Win Red outfit. I want to remind everyone, the Democrats have Share Blue, Act Blue, which is a central clearinghouse for a lot of things. But when you donate money to the chip in, when it says chip in, you're not sending it to the candidate. You're sending it to the Blue organization, and they then distribute it to the DNC. There's all these different ways. It has to be counted properly.
What?
You didn't know that? Of course you did. Of course you did. But Trump... I
can't believe they would be... in other words, they're fooling the public.
Trump set up a very similar system called Win Red, and it is run by Jared Kushner and a buddy of Jared Kushner's. Of course, I despise this whole concept because they're skimming money off the top. I don't like it at all. But they must be doing something that's working for them because, as you know, they have been texting me that somehow my membership has expired. I've never signed up for a membership. And this came in. You are being officially notified. Your deadline to support President Trump with 5X matching funds has been extended for 4 more hours. Act now.
5X.
And if you click through...
Who's doing the matching?
They don't tell you that.
If you ask for a refund, do you get 5X back?
I have no idea. But
that's shameful.
And I keep showing him to the keeper, who's in this business. She says, I can't believe they're doing that. It must be working. Maybe we're not doing it right. Maybe we should try that. Hey, listen, you dicks, send money. I know. Will it work?
Have you ever read the newsletter?
All right. Yes. There you go. End of that. All right. Oh, man. I get warm when I do that stuff. This was kind of interesting. I got a note to follow up with this clip. You recall we have a mole inside a prominent lobbying firm in Washington, D.C., who gave us information about Lev Parnas and his...
Oh, yes.
That Rudy Giuliani was actually working as a consultant for LifeLock, and he was hired to recreate that model for Lev Parnas with his, Bankrupt Guarantee or whatever that company, and everyone laughed about it. We're the only ones who really had the backstory on it. Not that it's that interesting. But this is a little more interesting. This happened just a few days ago.
I'm here to announce the indictment of Chinese military hackers, specifically 4 members of the Chinese People's Liberation Army, for breaking into the computer systems of the credit reporting agency Equifax and for stealing the sensitive personal information of nearly half of all American citizens, and also Equifax's hard-earned intellectual property.
Now, do we recall what happened with Equifax? Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the biggest hack ever. They stole everybody's data.
Yeah, but it
was an interesting situation. We knew it had to be the Chinese because it never showed up on the dark web for sale because it seems like a mailing list anyone would want a copy of.
But what was the reason for the hack?
I don't remember what the reason for that.
Yes.
What do you mean the reason?
I'm sorry. The good point. The hack was done through a machine that was compromised because they had not applied security patches. Do you remember that?
Vaguely, yeah.
Okay, so that's
was generally how most of these hacks.
That was spelled out broadly. So here's what our mole in the lobbying industry says. Adam, our colleagues in the lobbying business, specifically at Aiken Gump, drummed up this indictment at DOJ on behalf of Equifax, so Equifax's insurance company would be forced to pay for the losses from the class action lawsuit. The whole thing, he says, is fake. And I believe it. I totally believe that. Let's not talk about the mistakes we made. Let's not talk about how we allowed your information to be hacked. Let's blame it on some, I'll use that word again, randos in China.
Yeah, that's what well, it's like the indictments that Mueller did against the randos in Russia.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can do that. That's a new gimmick.
Yeah. I just like how that works in D.C. with the lobbying firms. You can get anything done as long as you got money. China, Saudi Arabia, all these guys. It's fantastic.
Get their insurance. Well, the insurance company should check into this and if it's a scam that it sounds like. But it probably was taken to China. I mean,
that's very possible. Sure, very possible.
I have a clip of your buddy Joy, random AM Joy.
My buddy. All right, thanks. I feel good now.
Your buddy.
She's not my buddy.
I want you to try to decipher this. This is a discussion with her and some psycho writer talking about Trump and the media. And I listened to this. I clipped it. In fact, I couldn't even clip it down any shorter than this. And I just want you to tell me what they're saying.
Trump said the media have struggled to appear balanced and objective in an era when the president behaves in shocking and unprecedented ways. They need to find a language to convey vividly the unhinged anger and obsession with retribution that Trump occasionally.
I can't even understand her.
Well, what she's saying is the media is trying to find some way to talk about Trump's mental illness. I think that's what she's saying.
The unhinged anger and obsession with retribution that Trump occasionally unleashes in public. Before I'm gonna get Rob in, but I want to go back to hopefully your cough is better, Dave. Gabe, because I want to go back to you first really quickly, because that's okay. No, I wanted you to have a moment to get to take some water, but the media is still under this this self-policing that says that State of the Union, which was very unusual. I mean, that took place in the gallery in the House gallery, a sort of sacred political space, and it really was show business, and the media still struggle to fit it into the norm.
Oh, so they're talking about the State of the Union. There was it was all show business. No, it had absolutely no content, just show business or marketing, you might call it.
Of what they expect. But even in Fox News, the Daily Beast has a piece now that said in internal documents, even Fox News understands what this is internally, even if they don't say it outright. In documents obtained by the Daily Beast, Fox's research team advises colleagues to be wary of disinformation from several Trump-boosting on-air regulars, including Rudy Giuliani. So internally, even there, some people feel a little queasy, but in writ large, Trump knows that the rest of the media is going to cover him as if he's a normal president, no matter what he does.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we all talk a lot about Fox News being the platform that elevates Donald Trump. But I think, unfortunately, it's the quote unquote mainstream media that actually does the biggest service to this president. If you look at the headline that was after his East Room performance in the New York Times, it talks about, President hails acquittal. No, he didn't hail his acquittal. He, raged for an hour. And I think the sort of neutral language, the sort of decorum and politeness that has governed newspaper journalism for the last 100 years that the office of the presidency is afforded, it just doesn't work with Donald Trump. And unfortunately, I don't have the answer. I'm a reporter, I'm a writer, so I struggle myself with these issues. But I know the end result is that the public is not having an accurate view of who this president is.
I know this
is exactly right. And by the way, 100 years of decorum. What? Have you ever looked at those papers from the 20s and 30s?
Yeah, they were outrageous. No yellow decorum. Journalism.
Are you kidding me?
No, what these people think they're so above everything. It's amazing to me.
This is a problem. This has been a problem with journalism. Some British guy described it best when he says, for some reason, American journalists think it's a profession when we think it's a trade.
Thank you. Find out who said that. He's making a lot of sense.
So long ago.
Anybody could just go online and see, and anyone who's interested, to see this hour-long rage. No. It was actually, if Trump talked during that 1 hour, or he was thanking his team and setting everybody up for moving forward after the impeachment, if he talked like that all the time, we'd be like, oh, that's pretty presidential.
Yeah, it was anything but a rage.
It was not a rage at all. But so if you're wondering why you're having trouble...
Hey, this is you. I say what you or I am. That old phrase.
Ja, wat je zegt ben jezelf met je kop door de helft.
That phrase applies.
J'accuse, m'accuse in French.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, but if you're wondering why people aren't getting the message, it's because you're not being truthful. It wasn't a rage. I mean, with rage, I don't know. Maybe I'm misunderstanding the definition of the word, but there was no rage there. But, the television version was take him saying bullshit, take him saying this, pop, put it all together. Woo, what a rage.
Yeah.
Well.
So meanwhile, on the other news channel, the one I use for balance, so I can hear the socialist point of view.
Yes, Democracy
Cuban
Now.
Socialist point of view.
Democracy Now.
I would expected this, and here I finally get it. This is Amy Goodman on Democracy Now! Smearing Pete Buttigieg.
Oh.
To look at Pete Buttigieg's record on policing and racial justice following his second-place finish in New Hampshire last night. The former mayor of South Bend, Indiana, has surprised many with his strong showings in Iowa and New Hampshire, two of the country's whitest states. But as the race moves on now to Nevada and South Carolina, Buttigieg continues to poll extremely low with African-American voters. His own former constituents are condemning his treatment of the black community in South Bend during his time as mayor, calling out systemic racism in the police force. During Buttigieg's tenure as mayor from 2012 to 18, black residents were 4.3 times more likely to be arrested for possessing marijuana than white people. At last week's presidential debate, ABC News moderator Lindsay Davis questioned Pete Buttigieg about the rise in arrests of black people under his administration.
Well, the reality is, on my watch, drug arrests in South Bend were lower than the national average. The overall rate was lower.
No, there was an increase. The year before you were in office, it was lower. Once you became in office in 2012, that number went up. In 2018, the last year that we have a record for, that number was still up.
Yep. And one of the strategies that our community adopted was to target when there were cases where there was gun violence and gang violence, which was slaughtering so many in our community.
Well, for more, we go to Chicago, where we're joined by Henry Davis, Jr., a South Bend City Council member since 2008. Welcome to Democracy Now!, Henry Davis, Jr. Can you talk about your experience as a city council member with your mayor at the time?
My time working with Mayor Buttigieg was, at best, was contentious. It was very difficult to get across to him and also to his administration how African Americans were living in South Bend and some of the issues that confronted them on a daily basis. You're talking about double-digit unemployment. You're talking about a very high poverty rate, over 40%. You're talking about high crime. You're talking about schools shutting down, closing, and even some of those policies when it came to 1,000 houses, 1,000 days program.
Don't look at that. Don't look at that. Look at me. I have a husband. The more I think about it.
By the way, that went on for another 15 minutes.
Oh, of course it did. Yeah. Quick OTG?
I have a husband.
A little OTG, quickie.
OTG, going OTG. I'm an OTG kind of guy.
I can't believe all this mess happened in Iowa because of an app. Hey!
I'm an OTG kind of guy.
I have an idea for an app. It's called No App. No apps, no computers, no gadgets, no gizmos.
Little assist from Larry David there. This was a story that we just didn't get to. There's a number of clips that I'd like to get play today because we didn't get to them. This accentuates why the OTG lifestyle is important. And I want to reiterate, because it's the name, of course, is bad because people think off the grid means you don't want to be connected, you don't want to be hacked. Now, it's not really that. It's you don't want to be making data that other people can easily aggregate and use against you. When I say against you, is they pretend that they're helping you with ads that you want, content you love, But of course, your data is then stored in databases. It's sold everywhere. And as we have said many times, the government doesn't actually have to put any spying programs in place because it's being done for them with your willing participation.
This is how it works. You get this pop-up and agree to let an app use your location. A travel app may want it to suggest nearby hotels or airports.
Hold on. I think I may have played them out of order. I'll make sure.
This is how it works. You get this pop-up and agree to let an app use your location. A travel app may want it to suggest nearby hotels or airports. Rideshare apps want to know where to pick you up. But often, those apps are also sharing your location with marketers who are using it for targeted ads, research, analysis, and even reselling it. But what we found is that in some cases, that consumer data is being resold to companies that buy and sell data for the government. According to people familiar with the matter and documents reviewed by the Wall Street Journal, the Trump administration has purchased a database that maps the movements of millions of cell phones in the US and is using it for immigration and border enforcement. In 2018, data tracking contributed to the discovery of a drug smuggling tunnel, according to people with knowledge of the operation.
Sources described this one case down in Arizona, a border town called San Luis, where a man had allegedly built a tunnel between his property, which was an abandoned KFC restaurant, and the Mexican border. Police say that smugglers were using this tunnel, but the interesting thing is, when this person was arrested, none of the court records indicate that they found this tunnel based on cell records. This data was showing cell phones moving from one side of the border to the other, and investigators surmised there must be an illegal tunnel there and began further investigations that led to the arrest of this person.
So what's interesting about this story is that it is truly the app. So WhatsApp, it's the apps that are handing out your location, sometimes very precise, even if you have location sharing turned off.
Oh, it's unbelievable. By the way, I have a backup clip for what you just played.
Okay.
And it's the tracking immigrants via cell phone.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same story, I guess.
The Wall Street Journal reports Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, and Customs Border Protection, or CBP, have spent over $1.2 million to access cell phone location data to track and arrest undocumented immigrants. The Homeland Security Department reportedly began purchasing cell phone location data in 2017 from a Virginia-based company called Ventel. The data is drawn from cell phone apps like Games and weather apps that ask the user's permission to access their location.
And the Customs and Border Patrol is very adamant about one thing, and this is why the OTG lifestyle is important.
In a statement to the Wall Street Journal, a CBP spokesman said, quote, while CBP is being provided access to location information, it is important to note that such information does not include cellular phone tower data, is not ingested in bulk, and does not include the individual user's identity.
Because that would be completely illegal. But the point is, they don't have to do that. However, if they want to track good old crackpot, they'd have to have cell location data, because I have a flip phone that pretty much does nothing. It has no apps, 0 apps. And the apps, it has a browser, so I'd have to be careful, but I don't really use that. I mean, unless it's an emergency. But it's the apps. It's anything that's free. Put a big suspicious tag next to it, because that's how they make their money. They make money on selling that exact data to ultimately the government.
I have to bitch. I've been bitching about this for over a decade, and it's because when you go on, you got some app, and I don't even like the word. And you load it and say, we'd like, by agreeing to our terms, you have also given up everything. Your notebook, your email, your camera can be turned on, the mic can be turned on, they can use your contact, they can download your contact list. And I'm thinking, this is like a flashlight. And they want my contact list? I'm not going to agree to any of this.
The flashlight was the best spy app ever. Remember when it first came out? Everyone was downloading it. That guy got so rich. He's like, woo, look at all this, a bonanza. So all we're here to do is to warn you that this is just a very, very bad idea, and there's no reason for you to... You know what? So here's what I like about the Alcatel Go Flip 3 is... it's a basic phone. I can text. I can receive a call. It's great for calling, by the way. It's a very, very pleasant phone to speak on. And in a pinch, I can get mail and I could do something on the web. But it's really in a pinch because it's very slow. It's laborious. But you want that. You don't want to be distracted. That's another big part of it. But there's really no way to track me. However, the beauty of it is that it can also function as a Wi-Fi hotspot. That's what's really cool about it. Because if you are in that undeniable, it happens, oh my God, I absolutely need to get online to do something, you can use that with your laptop, or I have the Surface Go Pro, the Surface Go, whatever the hell it's called, 10-incher, which only has Linux on it. So, but I can get online, I can do whatever I want. Just don't create as much data. Stop creating data because it'll only be used against you.
You better hide your stash because there's a war on cash.
We haven't heard much about the war on cash lately, although it does crop up from time to time. Australia is now on deck with a new cash ban bill.
Australians could face 2-year jail sentences and fines of up to $25,000 under proposed laws that limit the use of some cash transactions to $10,000. There are calls for the government to withdraw the proposal, which was announced in the budget, to fight the so-called black economy. John Adams, an independent economist, has come out against the change.
I have to categorise this on many occasions as the greatest attack on economic freedom and liberty in this country in the last 2 or 3 decades. I mean, this law is quite serious. I don't think in a free society government should have any role in telling people what to do with their own money, whether it's a cash transaction or a non-cash transaction. So the government has claimed that this proposal is about the black economy, and obviously they had the black economy task force that they established in 2016. This is where this $10,000 cash transaction ban comes from. Now, the government has not provided any evidence that this ban will actually work in terms of reducing the black economy. And one of the countries he cites is Sweden, where in Sweden they've virtually eliminated cash, and yet they still have a flourishing black economy. So the way the law is constructed at the moment, basically, if it's either business to business or individual to business. So if an individual was to engage in a $10,000 cash transaction above $10,000, that is illegal under this proposed law. So, for example, if you went to a car yard, if you went to a furniture shop, if you went to a jewelry store, and you proposed to pay cash for a product or a service, under this law, individual to business or business to business, that is illegal. Now, the way that the government has proposed this law is there's a bill for Parliament and there's a proposed regulation. The bill makes everything illegal, and the regulation has certain exemptions. Now, one of the exemptions in the regulation is individual to individual transactions. So, for example, if you had a piece of furniture for $15,000 and I wanted to buy that off you for a one-off, and we're not enterprises, that the government says is legal under this law. But given that this exemption is in a regulation, the Assistant Treasurer at any time can remove these exemptions, make these exemptions illegal without the scrutiny of Parliament.
I love that this report went into depth because most of the headlines just scream, but the details are even more interesting. Where there's the law says we'll have a regulation for what amount you can spend at a business or a car yard. They don't have car dealers over there. They got car yards. And that limit is set at $10,000, but they can lower that because it's just a regulation. That's the real creepy part about it.
Yeah, they can lower it to $1,000.
Yeah. Which
they would do. Why wouldn't you? You're not going to raise it.
No. That's just like, what do you call it? VAT, value added tax, same deal.
Yeah, you put that in place, it's there forever. And people who suggest that you should throw a shoe at them.
It can only go up.
I picked up a couple of clips from Trump's New Hampshire speech. He's doing a new act.
I missed it. Different. They no longer play it on Fox. Oh my God, Fox is just boring now. They're getting really bad. I can't watch any much of it.
They're run by a bunch of people that don't even like Trump.
Well, you know that they have internal memos that from the, they have so the way Fox News works, Fox News Channel, they have a news desk, and the head of the news desk put out a memo that was leaked that said, just so you know, you shouldn't really take anything that is on Hannity or Judge Janine's show or Ingraham, because the guests they have on are known disinformation people from their own organization.
Yeah, that was a clip we played earlier in the show. Now, he's changing his bit a little bit. He's got some good, he's got a couple of nice new bits, but he did have this little crossover thing in there, encouraging people to, by not encouraging them, to cross over. And this is the Trump stumps in New Hampshire suggesting a crossover where you can vote for the other party.
Done great. This has been an incredible state where the people are great, just great people. And we hear that there could be, because you have crossovers in primaries, don't you? So I hear a lot of Republicans tomorrow will vote for the weakest candidate possible of the Democrats. Does that make sense? You people wouldn't do that. My only problem is I'm trying to figure out who is their weakest candidate. I think they're all weak. I want to know that.
That's. I mean, it's not a huge laugh, but it's an interesting bit of shtick. I like it.
Now, a better bit, which he's added to his act, is this Trump where he goes on about Pelosi.
On Tuesday, I delivered my address on the State of the Union. And I had somebody behind me who was mumbling terribly. Mumbling. Mumbling. Wah, wah, oh, ah. He was mumbling. Very distracting. Very distracting. It's very distracting. I'm speaking and a woman is mumbling terribly behind me, angry. There was a little anger back there. We're the ones should be angry, not them. We're the ones that should be angry. But we proudly declare that we are in the midst of the great American comeback. Our country is stronger today than ever before.
I had not heard this. I like that a lot. What was that? What mumbling? That reminds me of the time I flew on the Concorde. And I was very excited. And I was like, oh, my God, I'm going to fly in the Concorde. I'm going to go to fly. It was for the something at Wembley Arena. I can't remember exactly what. MTV flew me Concorde because I had to be there right away or whatever was going on.
Good.
And this was New York to London. And I was super excited. And Liza Minnelli is sitting behind me, completely drunk, and ruined the whole damn ride. She was kicking against my chair, talking loud. Yeah, it was a big bummer. Anyway, that's for my book.
Did you turn around and tell her to knock it off?
No, I was too impressed. I'm like, she's Liza Minnelli. I'll just keep this. It's better to have the story than to have some international ruckus, because, a drunk Liza is something you got to be very careful of.
I would think.
Yeah. Well, while you're at it, is there anything else from Trump during the speech?
No, that's all I got from that speech, and it is worth watching his new act. It's slightly different.
Mm-hmm. Well, it has to.
I noticed the one before New Hampshire where I watched some of that one, and that was his old material, and it was about an hour and 15, hour 20. This new act, which I think is mostly new, is only an hour. His act
he's cutting it down. He's cutting it down. Right.
It's down. I think this was like 55 minutes. So, but he builds. He starts. He's got a basic act, and then and then he adds and adds to it.
Yeah, but he's added those bits. That's good. Just one last story, since all of the stuff that we're talking about is so irrelevant when it comes to how bad things really are, and that this is actually the biggest failing on the media, not the newspapers who published it, because I think it's good that they did that. And if you read through it all, then you feel very sad about the state of what we're doing, how we've positioned ourselves for decades. And when I say ourselves, the United States, this, of course, is the Afghan papers. And to get any kind of in-depth reporting on it, I got this from Voice of America, which is the propaganda arm of the United States.
John Sopko, Inspector General of an independent government watchdog created by Congress to combat waste and abuse in the U.S. reconstruction effort in Afghanistan, told the House Foreign Affairs Committee on Wednesday a persistent incentive to lie about the progress on the ground hurt U.S. efforts in Afghanistan.
You create from the bottom up an incentive because of short time frames. You're there for 6 months, 9 months, or a year to show success. That gets reported up the chain, and before you know it, the president is talking about a success that doesn't exist. And I think that's a good issue to look at. Not whether there was lying, but why.
The hearing comes 1 month after a Washington Post report that government officials misled the public about U.S. gains in Afghanistan for years and hid evidence that the war had become unwinnable. The newspaper cited Seaguar documents as evidence. But Richard Boucher, who served as Assistant Secretary of State for South Asia during the Bush administration, says there was no deliberate deception.
I think all of us tried to tell the truth in terms of what was going on in the war, the difficulties that we were facing, the difficulties of getting things done in a chaotic situation like the one in Afghanistan.
Despite notable failures, experts say a rash exit from the region could lead to deadlier outcomes.
We're at a stage where we know we want to withdraw, but we want to do it responsibly, and that requires a negotiation process.
The Trump administration has been negotiating a peace agreement with the Taliban to finally bring the war to an end.
It's just so disheartening. Because it's not like we don't know this, but that it's out there, and where are the real hearings? Where are we really pinning people up? Hey, man, this is bull crap.
Well, this is like we talked about 10 minutes ago. We said you start a value-added tax. You can't back off on these things. You go into one of these stupid wars that's not really a war because nobody's attacking us, but you go in there to police the place and you can't get out.
Yeah. Well, you can, but the system won't let you get out.
No, the whole system is designed for you to be stuck there forever.
Yeah. Disheartening is that's the only thing I can say.
Well,
don't feel good about it.
It's a reasonably good word. I got a couple of just one more news item if you want to.
Yeah,
I got
one
a
more
few news items I want to get out of the way.
Well, let's do one and then we got to move.
Got to move.
Got to move, babe.
Let's do it live.
Yes. All right. What are we playing?
Well, this will be the most interesting one. Juan Guaido returns to Venezuela.
Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido has returned to Venezuela, where protesters waited for him outside the airport Tuesday, screaming, "Dirty traitor," and "Get out." Guaido was returning from a trip to the United States, where he attended President Trump's State of the Union address. Guaido also traveled to the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, during a political tour aimed at ousting Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro.
This guy, this is another disappointment. I'll play it again.
Here this evening is a very brave man.
No.
Who carries with him the hopes, dreams, and aspirations of all Venezuelans. Joining us in the gallery is the true and legitimate president of Venezuela, Juan Guaido. Mr. President, please take this message back to your family.
Well, as the president himself would say,
bullshit. I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
And we do have a few people to thank for show 1216, starting with Vincent Dame in Tucson, Arizona. It's not pronounced Dame, it's pronounced Dame.
Oh.
The only guy I ever knew named Dame was a very famous sommelier, and his name was Dame. But he calls it Dom. Okay, we'll call him Dom. Tucson, $115. Sir Andrew, Protector of the Bound Book, $111.11. Rob Van Dyke in Netherlands, $100. Thomas Kilbride Jr., Waco, Texas, $82. Daniel Mariano. That can't be that hard. 8008, and he's in Pflugerville, Texas.
Tejas.
You know where that is?
Of course,
it is.
Pflugerville's not far from here.
Hey, Pflugerville.
That's
Is
right.
it named after Joe Pfluger?
No, it's that's the whole Germanic part. We got Fritztown.
Oh, yeah,
Fritztown, Pflugerville. We've got the Schlitterbahn. It's all Deutsch.
Heather Huff.
You okay? Did you get stuck?
Heather Huff. H-O-U-G-H. I was stuck in between two or three pronunciations.
I wonder how she Hello, I'm Heather Huff.
She's in Seattle, $75. She has a birthday.
Oh, yes.
And she's requesting a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
Oh, birthday greetings to my sweet, part Swede husband, Daniel. Gratis pa fuldes dagen.
I wonder what part Swede.
Turns the magical
Tricia
33.
LaCour in Bangor, Pennsylvania, 6969. And this is the de-douche. Her smoking hot husband, Steve.
You've been de-douched.
Don't quite understand the mechanism here, but okay. Matthew Mongan, 69. Christopher Dector, 5678. Baron Bob of High Point.
Yeah,
High Point, North Carolina.
73 is Baron Bob.
73 is NC4RG.
Kilo 5, Alpha
510,
Charlie.
double nickels on the dime. Sam Van Hoer in Amsterdam.
Hoer.
There you go. Sam Van Hoer in Amsterdam. He wants some jobs karma at the end.
Got it. He knows where it belongs.
He's got it. He's got a clue.
He's got it down.
Dame Jamie, 5214. With the Valentine Day shout out to Sir Mad Hatter, the love of my life.
I can't imagine
a life without you. So
for Valentine's Day, jobs karma. Hugs and kisses. XOXO.
XOXO. XOXO. Alexander Beatty in Houston, Texas. 5001. And the following people were already there already. It's a short list today.
It is.
Is $50 donors. Name and location, starting with Jonathan Ferris in Liberal, Kansas. George Wuchet, parts unknown. Robert Kerback in Essexville, Michigan. Dame Patricia Worthington comes in consistently from Miami, Florida. Robert Decanay in Fairfax, Virginia. I think he's of Sir Roy. I think there's a Sir Roy Tenhava in Pijnacker.
Yes, yes, correct.
Netherlands. Brandon Savoy in Port Orchard, Washington, another regular. Mark Johnson in Aurora, Colorado. Rossen Touchkoff in London, UK. Heather Latta in Effingham, Illinois. And a happy birthday to the love of my life, Sir Marty Williamson. Karen Ewan in Columbus, Ohio, to her loving husband, Sir Nigel Ewan, who with a 2-year-old and 11-month-old and another surprise on the way, he's had to put up with a lot recently. Thank you for, and she continues on a rant, thanking him profusely for not being mad at her, I guess, for having so many kids.
Well, with a 2-year-old, an 11-month-old, and another one on the way, I don't think it's her fault. Just saying. Kimberly
Redmond in Toronto, Ontario wraps it up for us with our producers for show 1216. I want to thank each and every one of them for helping us, and all the people that donated lesser amounts also.
Yeah, thank you. It is the only way the show keeps going. It's we chose for this method years and years ago, almost at the beginning of the show, and we could not be happier. Because it really gives us the opportunity to create a much better program with producers who produce in many different ways, financially, but also just the complete contributions that come in that really make it work is fantastic. It's unparalleled as far as I know to this date. Certainly with this amount of programming that we produce. Thank you all very much. Remember, we do have another show coming up on Sunday. We'd love for you to support that. In fact, we need you to support it. So please go to Dvorak.org/NA and by request.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
It's a birthday.
Yeah, besides zero title changes, zero knights or dames, we actually have a kind of a small birthday list. Sir Gregory, he turns 39 tomorrow. Valentine's baby, Sir Gregory W., I should say. Heather says happy birthday to her husband Daniel, turns 33 tomorrow as well. And Chris Gramal says happy birthday to his wife Diana. She is celebrating today, the day before Valentine's Day. We say happy birthday to everybody from all of us here at No Agenda.
It's your birthday, yeah.
And as I said, we don't have any other things to take care of except
No Agenda.
It's a party.
like a party. All right, some ground rules. We love the meetups. I love doing meetup reports. You cannot write pages of what happened. It's not fun for me to read it. What we really are looking for is meetup reports, audio. You can record it on your phone. You can pass it around. There is one other thing I'd like to say. I received a meetup report today, and here's the problem. I didn't have time to put it together because they literally had 8 separate files of people going, with a little message at the meetup and like, hey, Curry, why don't you put it together? Like, okay, I didn't have time to do that. So it's okay. Just record it on whatever. Send that one file to me. I'll chop it up if necessary. I've been doing it anyway, so to make it sound good. There was a meetup in Israel. This was the first meetup of Jesse Coy Nelson's Toon Man tour. He's going around the world. He's had meetups by himself in Palestine, in Ramallah, in Jordan, and finally he was in Jaffa, Tel Aviv. This was the Tel Aviv meetup, and here is our very own Jesse Coy Nelson.
Hey, this is Jesse Coy Nelson with the first successful two-man tour in Jaffa.
And this is Brian of London in Jaffa.
And Sir Jono.
And we're here at the No Agenda meetup in the Middle East. And this is the man who can say, it's like a party.
And we're in Abu Lafia, John, your bagel shop.
Come and have a look. This is Arab bagels and Arab desserts and sweets. Thank you very much. In the morning, and until the next time, come visit us in Israel.
In the morning.
Oh, yeah. I want to go. You've been to Israel. You knew about the bagel shop, so of course you've been
that
there.
Bagel shop is unbelievable. It's the best in the world, supposedly.
I've never been to Israel. I should go. We certainly have peeps there, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, you got that one MI6 guy, and then you got...
you got all those guys. Spot the spook. What do you mean? It's like spot the non-spook. No, I'm just kidding. Kind of.
Just kidding. We kid.
Here is the list of meetups on the near horizon for you. Tomorrow, Valentine's Day, we stay with, in the Middle East, but this will be a most marvelous Middle Eastern meetup in Manamana. 1 p.m. Arabian Standard Time. This is the Sherlock Holmes Pub in the Gulf Hotel, and our very own Sir Dave Fugazzotto, Earl of America's Heartland in Saudi Arabia, will be hosting. It's sure to be a hoot. And he'll take pictures. He's very nice, very good photographer. Also tomorrow, if you're in Stockholm, if you happen to swing by, there's a meetup, 6 p.m. Look for the organizer in the No Agenda Space Force t-shirt at O'Connell's Irish Pub in Gamalistan. Michael will be hosting. That's his name. On Sunday, the Minneapolis Warm-Up. That's the Venn Brewery Tap Room, South Minneapolis. Dr. Hammer organizing for you. Then Monday, brand new on the list, Fort Lauderdale. This is Monday the 17th. Meet up at 6:30 at Rocco's Tavern. Look for the guy in the No Agenda Space Force t-shirt. Seems like we've got a trend going on here.
Space Force.
Kitchener, Ontario, local 42033. Thursday, a week from now. This is the second meetup in Kitchener. Meet at Moose Winooski's. Chris W. hosting for you. Also next Thursday, Magnolia, Texas, local 667. Houstonians come for craft brews at the Lone Pint Brewery in downtown Magnolia, Texas. Texas Joe organizing for you. Next Friday, not tomorrow, a week from now, the Delray Beach, Florida meetup, 6 o'clock, with hosts galore. Adam, the Keeper, and Horowitz. I don't know if Horowitz is coming. I hope he is. That will be the South Florida meetup at Saltwater Brewery, and there are many organizers, but Crystal and David Culpa, I think, are the ones that are taking charge of this. So please come and hang out with us. We look forward to meeting everybody in Florida. And if you have not heard about a meetup near you, it's very simple. Go to noagendameetups.com. Create your own. That's all you need to do. They're great. They're like a party.
Sometimes you want to go hang out with all the nights and days. You want to be where you won't be triggered or held to blame. You want to be where everybody feels the same.
That's right. NoAgendaMeetups.com. Like a party. And a new item at the end of the show.
Let's see what's in John's closet.
We had the Microsoft Bob Frisbee. I'm wondering if there's another item that you are putting up for auction or sale or otherwise.
I was thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything.
Wow, so this is a dead item.
Well, all I have to do is take one look around.
Yeah.
I do have a couple of things, actually.
Well, you sound woefully unprepared.
Well, I'm unprepared. Yes, I am. I thought about this earlier, and I'm unprepared. I can't.
That's okay.
Well, segment I have to skip.
We'll do it.
Show.
We'll do it for the next show.
Yeah, I have not too many things to choose from. That's the problem. And I didn't get any bites on the Frisbee.
What? No one wanted to drop $100 on a
hundo
a hundo on a Virgin Microsoft
Mint.
Bob Mint
Condition Bob.
But can you haggle over the price, or because if you're just saying 100 flat, best price,
I have to.
Yeah, well,
you're gonna have to. People don't see the value in these things, but okay.
You need to put up a Cosmic Weenie page. Something I can put in the show notes.
That's not a bad idea. I think I'll have to do that.
There you go. I have just one more little thing, unless you have something that you'd like to do first.
I have actually 4 clips, which are news clips, which I promised everybody we'd be trying to keep people up with world news.
Okay, yes, let's do that first. Good idea.
And so let's start with the Irish vote. Let's get that out of the way.
Oh, yeah, this was so typical.
Irish voters went to the polls on Saturday in an election that could remove Taoiseach Leo Varadkar from power amid a surge by left-wing Sinn Féin. Varadkar cast his ballot in Dublin after campaigning on his own diplomatic successes on Brexit, helping prevent a hard border on the island. But the strategy appears to have fallen flat amid domestic issues such as healthcare and housing, which have seen a swing by voters towards Sinn Féin. Party leader Mary Lou MacDonald urged people to vote for change as she also went to the polling booth in Dublin.
Today is a very important day. Today is the day that the people are in charge, and every single vote counts. People have told us throughout this campaign that they want change, that they want to change in representation and they want to change in government. So I'm saying to people, please come out today and vote for that change.
But MacDonald's party is unlikely to enter government as it has put forward too few candidates. Opinion polls point to the main opposition party, Fianna Fáil, winning most seats and forming a coalition or minority government, led by Micheál Martin, who voted Saturday morning in Cork. Its policies on the economy and post-Brexit Ireland are broadly similar to those of Varadkar's centre-right Fine Gael. Both Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael insist they will not govern with Sinn Féin. After polls close at 10 p.m. local time, counting will begin at 9 o'clock on Sunday morning.
So does this mean we'll have bombs going off again, or am I just imagining these are the same people? That's interesting. Hey, just as a quick aside, Tuesday, August 3rd, 2010, blog entry on the Dvorak Uncensored blog with picture. Valuable Frisbee found in closet. Yes, an unused Microsoft Bob Frisbee was buried in one of my closets. Wow, priceless collectible, yes?
Yeah.
You're recycling.
What?
You're recycling.
What do you mean I'm recycling? I still have the Frisbee. I didn't recycle it yet. I'm recycling the story, is what you're saying?
And it's the same picture you sent me of this thing sitting on the mantelpiece next to a Christmas bear. Dude, what is this collectible Christmas bear in the picture? What is up with that? No! What do you even have that in your home? What is that thing?
I don't know. That was from 10 years ago.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And a horse head, a glass horse head. I want to be in your closet. I want to be in your closet so bad.
I bet you do. You're kind of in the closet.
Oh!
What are you supposed to do? Somebody throws you a softball. So here we go. Piers Robinson is discussing Syria.
Piers Robinson.
EW story is about the investigation of an alleged chemical weapon attack in Douma in Syria in 2018, which was controversial at the time because France and America and the UK bombed Syria within about 6 or 7 days of that alleged event having occurred.
This is news somewhere after we've ripped this all apart front to back, and this is now news still?
And the premise for the event was...
Well, hold on. Exactly. What happened is we, of course, spotted this a mile away, and it's been discussed by academics, and now it's official. Well, it's not even fully official. It's just some guy who quit one of these organizations and kind of made it quasi-official that the whole thing was a scam, like we said.
EW story is about the investigation of an alleged chemical weapon attack in Douma in Syria in 2018, which was controversial at the time because France and America and the UK bombed Syria within about 6 or 7 days of that alleged event having occurred.
And the premise for the event was that Assad, winning the war, gassed his own people.
The helicopter dropped 2 chlorine gas cylinders and it had killed sort of dozens of people in Douma. And that was the original event which the OPCW went out to investigate. What we know now, after leaks and people from within the OPCW talking, is that the team who were initially deployed to Douma and who did the investigation, that their first interim report was very clearly indicating that there were problems with the idea that the Syrian government had dropped cylinders, that there were indications that staging had occurred. And they were really pretty much shut out of the process after the interim report, which is what really started to cause, I think, dissent within amongst some of the team. And then ultimately the final OPCW report came out suggesting very strongly that the Syrian government had dropped chlorine gas cylinders. And at that point, shortly after that, an engineering report was leaked, which suggested the opposite. And what we know now from all of the leaks and what we know now from the Courage Foundation panel, for example, is that there are serious problems with the final OPCW report, but the science does not back up the claims that are being made. And we know that from the leaked documents. We can see that from the information coming out from OPCW scientists. And most spectacularly, we saw it with Ian Henderson addressing the UN Security Council, where he made very clear that he had been sidelined, and he made very clear that the engineering assessment had indicated that staging had occurred at Douma.
You know, it's so odd that a podcast that rips apart mainstream media, all media really, whether it's radio, print, or television, of course, a lot, that this is one of the few places you can actually hear a bunch of stories that are kind of interesting and of global importance. And, you know, I'm glad we do this, because where else would you get this news? I mean, you have to be monitoring everything. You don't get... I watch Sky and I watch RT and Al Jazeera, and you pick up stuff from time to time, but they're also headline-driven. It's all headline-driven.
Yeah.
Clicks.
I know. That's what makes this show so great.
Oh, yeah. Well, now I remember. Okay.
Exactly. I got another one. A little short. This is a shorter little news item. This is a Sudan story. This is the update on Sudan news.
Sudan's longtime leader, Omar al-Bashir, will be handed over to the International Criminal Court in The Hague to face charges of genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. He's accused of leading the Sudanese government's scorched earth campaign in Darfur, where up to 300,000 people were killed and more than 2.5 million people were forced from their homes. Bashir was forced from power last April amidst massive anti-government protests in Sudan.
Clooney did his job.
That's right. The Sentinel Project. Finally. Good work, George.
Now, I have something that's not international news, but it's a clip that was produced by this operation. I'm going to ask you, because I was misled. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with what's referred to as a maker?
A maker?
Like the Makers Conference, Maker.
Yeah, from the maker space, so people who use 3D printers and stuff like that. Yeah, that's a maker, yeah.
Well, you're completely misled.
What?
Welcome to the Makers Conference!
We women, we're not going nowhere.
I was part of a small team that landed an SUV-sized robot on the surface of Mars.
I went to therapy. I started to understand what made me tick, and I took accountability.
We are driven change makers, fed up with the world around us, and we're ready to take action no matter what.
You want to be proactive, don't look away.
No one is invisible when we demand to be seen.
I love my body. It's society that is uncomfortable with my body.
God, we must be pretty amazing to have overcome all of this shit.
I think it's important that we have these kind of conversations.
Hopefully you leave here inspired to do something.
What is this? What? I don't understand at all what that was.
This was Makers 2020.
Yeah.
And if you look at the thing, it is about the empowerment of women and to push forward the new feminist something or other.
Well, they've hijacked the term.
You tell me about it. That's what I said. They hijacked the term.
That's not okay.
There's nobody doing 3D printing. The guy at the end was John Legend. Hello. And
Mr.
there was another
Hijack.
guy. There was only two men that they've highlighted. That the guy in the middle was some guy talking about how he had to go see a shrink so he could become a cuckold, I guess. I'm not sure what he was after there. But.
Wow. The beginning, when I heard it in the beginning, it made me think of something else.
Welcome to the Makers Conference!
Woo! It made me think of...
Let's get social. Let's get social. Let's get social. Let's get social. Let's get social media.
Welcome to the Makers Conference!
You know, could have been.
And I'm surprised they used the term makers. It doesn't have. What's it got to do? Is this a derivative of homemakers? Hello,
No,
it's
that's
kind of
wrong.
Old-fashioned term that should be eschewed.
Yeah.
So they're homemakers, or what's makers? Is it
very
makers? I thought the same thing. Where's the 3D printers?
Very odd. On Fox, Tucker Carlson had a very slow day or whatever. They were expecting Trump to I don't know what it was. So he pulled out an old interview he did with Adam Carolla. And it was about homelessness, and it was so good what Adam Carolla said. And it was a long segment, so I chopped it up and down and into three shorter pieces. And it was an eye opener. I sat there and said, "Holy crap! He's really saying some smart stuff here," because what he has identified as the problem in Los Angeles, I'll just say California, is exactly what's going on here in Austin. It's exactly the same. It was an eye opener. I really appreciate what he said. It is completely in three parts. So first he explains why the government, local city government or state government, doesn't care about the homeless. I mean, if I asked you just offhand, why do city and state governments really don't care about the homeless?
I have no idea.
California and LA especially sort of broken the citizens into two groups. There's the groups that have money, and then there are the empty bags. They don't have any money. So if you have money and you're in that group and you pay your taxes, you'll get pulled over and get a ticket for not having a front license plate. But if you're homeless or you're illegal or you're not in the system, then you're essentially an empty bag and they can't get money out of you. In fact, they cost the city money. So anything that costs the city money, they're not that good at, but they're really good at parking enforcement, and they're really good at permits and building permits and fines, and anything where there's money to be had, they're super efficient at it. And the homeless don't have checking accounts, so there's nothing in it for them. They've really divided the entire city into those who pay and those who can't. And if you can't, they're not that interested.
I think this is so true. And it really hit home for me just the other day. The keeper and I were coming back we had lunch together, and we're driving back on South Pleasant Valley Road, which is a 35 zone. There's no one. It's lunchtime. So there's no one on the road, and I'm driving. Yeah, and I look in my rear view mirror, and I see a car behind me, like close, kind of riding me. And so I I pull over to the side immediately. It was undercover. Woo, woo. You know, I was like, Daddy, I will stop you. I'll pull you over. You were speeding. But 50 feet up, there's squeegee guys and tents on the median. So now I have to say, I didn't get a ticket. I got a warning. But it was that very moment I felt the same. It's like, look at what you're doing, man. There's no one on the road. Yeah, okay, I was going a little fast. I was over 40, sorry. But look at the illegality taking place right. And I'm not blaming the cop, obviously, because the cop is not even allowed to do anything. But that's the stuff that drives people crazy. And I thought it was an interesting observation that these governments don't give a shit. If they can't get money out of you, they don't care.
Well, it still begs the question.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they allowed to have these encampments? It costs the city money because somebody's got to clean this stuff up eventually.
Well, is something? What is going? Is that a trash van backing up or something?
It's a garbage truck.
Well, that comes up in the second part of the story, and this is a very valid question, although it's not addressed in what Carolla says. But remember, this camping is all these liberal cities have allowed camping because of a lawsuit that is in the Ninth Circuit. It's in Idaho, that removing homeless people who are camping is, quote, unconstitutional because it is because it is cruel and unusual punishment. This is what the wokesters have come up with. And so for that reason, because it's now in court, Idaho said, well, we can't kick these people out because, you know, it's constitutional. And all the woke counties, Austin literally says the same thing. Well, you know, there's a case before the Ninth Circuit. We can't really do anything until that's resolved because, you know, just kicking people out of their homes where they're camping, that's cruel and unusual punishment because you're ruining their home. That's how they get away with allowing it. And of course, the real
no. That's not the question. The question is why. I mean, they get away. That's why they get away with allowing it. But why do they want these encampments? Because they obviously want them, or they wouldn't have them.
No, they don't. Here's Carolla's vision on that.
Well, what changed is we started to mistake discipline and rule of law for being mean. This sort of like, don't be mean, don't take that homeless guy. Why are you making him go here? Or why are you arresting him? Or why are you incarcerating him? Or why are you putting him in this facility? LA has become this sort of good vibes place where Mayor Garcetti and the governor of Los Angeles, governor of California, Gavin Newsom, everyone is scared of being called a bad person. And we used to realize that coaches and teachers and generals and the police force and the people, the mayor and the governor, when they enforced laws, they weren't bad people. They enforced laws. They're doing what they were elected to do. They're doing their job. Now, when an official says, I want to get rid of this homeless camp, we're going to bulldoze the homeless camp, we're going to give it, it's like, why are you being a mean person? Why are you being a bad person? This is a zeitgeist that's washing over this nation. That the teacher that's expelling the student for being unruly has now become the bad person. Not the student, the teacher. We're turning on the rule of law. We're turning on the teachers, the coaches, the governors, the mayors, the cops. Think what we've done with cops. We've turned cops into the bad guy.
Yeah.
Not the bad guys who were the bad guys. And the reason the cops are engaged with the bad guys is because they're involved with some bad behavior. We've turned the guy with the uniform and the badge into the bad guy. And nobody wants to be the bad guy.
It's meta, but I think there's a big element of truth to what he's saying.
Well, yes, I agree. I'm not going to disagree with the basic thesis. But some cities have the homeless problem and some cities don't. Dallas doesn't have the same problem Austin has.
No, because they're not idiots.
Well, who's the idiots? The people in Dallas?
No, the people in Austin. The city council in Austin doesn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. You remember the report I played on the last show where The city council lady said, well, those needles, it's probably for, they have diabetes and the homeless people need to use needles too.
You're right. Yeah.
For insulin.
That is the dumbest thing.
Here, let me play it again. It's a shorty. Play it.
And I just wanted to point out, because folks are expressing concern over the needles, that people use needles for health reasons and for insulin and other stuff, and I believe that's what we were seeing. And so I just wanted to throw that out there, that a lot of folks who are homeless have health issues and are using the needles for health reason. That doesn't make them safe to be on the ground, but it is. That is one of the reasons that we may be finding those in those areas.
But Carolla has his own example of that. This is the last clip where he gave, I thought, an excellent example of this specific problem.
I was talking to a guy who runs the Staples Center. He literally runs the Staples Center. They rejuvenated downtown, really. It was falling apart. Staples Center came in and really just brought it back to life. They bring millions of dollars in tax revenues. I said to the guy, I went to a game there with my son, a Lakers game. I walked out. I almost tripped over a guy selling hot dogs on your property from a shopping cart with a propane tank on it. I said, there was dozens of these guys just all on the Staples Center property. They're selling food. They're not licensed. They're not regulated. They're not getting a grade from the system. They're literally just selling food, totally unregulated, on your property. And he said, yeah, I know. We hate it. We hate it. I wish there was something we could do about it. I said, what do you mean? What do you mean something you do about it? Go talk to the city council.
Get off my property. How's that?
Talk to the mayor. Get off my property. Throw him off your property. Call the cops. He said, I don't want to get into trouble.
That's it. That's a big part of the problem. And downtown LA is really gone to crap now. Besides that particular area. But yeah, that's it. So they don't want to get in trouble with city council, and therefore you actually risk people getting sick from the food, or some propane tank exploding, whatever,
blowing up the place,
whatever could happen. So I thought it was, I liked it. I thought that was a very interesting observation.
Yeah. It's this interesting situation because San Francisco is kind of the same. I think LA it's got more. It's more diverse, so they have more of a diverse problem. And they don't. But San Francisco, I don't see it being any different in terms of the city council.
No,
being
I think
unhelpful.
It's precisely the same thing.
They got the pooping going on in San Francisco. I think is a little more. There's more of that than in LA, I think.
Well, it's starting here in Austin.
The pooping?
Yep, pooping on the street. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very strange phenomenon.
The pooping itself, or allowing people to poop? No,
the whole thing, the whole homeless pooping, failure to do anything about it.
And we have there's certainly one homeless guy who emails me regularly. He has an Obama phone. He listens to the show, and it's not made easy for him. Is really, he sees and he's in, I want to say he's in Washington State. He says there's no way out. He does not see a way out. And all kinds of horrible stuff happens, especially out there. And the worst is the homeless themselves. They do horrible things to each other. So I do a lot of things that I can for the homeless. So I don't want to sound like I'm, people think I sound like a dick, but, there's ways to help, and it's just counterproductive. And I think we should stop by saying, no, okay, you can't camp here. Here's where you can camp. If you want to live as a camper, that's fine. And we'll help you get your disability check. Because, people, there are ways for them to get money, but they don't want to, and people don't really want to help them. And the only other agencies here, they want a per client fee. So it's kind of insidious. It's like a circle. It's a real bummer at the end of the show. Damn it. Give me something fun, John. I don't like this.
Jeez. I could have saved the Trump stuff for last. I do maybe have a...
Just one. Just give me one thing.
Clip.
Help me.
Stone, new information.
Nothing.
There's a funny story out of Michigan State. They had this MSU and this painful reminder of lynching.
Oh, yeah.
So they had a display. They had a couple of these things. It was a display in the student, the student store kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they had these little characters, little rag dolls that they were selling. And the display, they were like, you know how you have a little clip on the back of something and you hang it?
Yes.
Well, the way they did it, because they didn't have the little clip, they put a rope around their neck and hung them from, it turns out to be what looks like a tree.
Oh, man.
Well, play this story.
Leaders at Michigan State University apologizing today for a controversial display at a school's performance center gift shop. You can take a look at the display yourself. Many are calling it racist, saying it shows historical black figures hanging from a tree. Following public outcry, the school removed the display and sent out a statement to apologize, but some students say it's just not enough.
Oh, it's not enough.
To be constantly confronted with images and displays and these messages like all the time. Like, it's a painful response. It's a painful reminder.
Well, who was this? Who was the
20-year-old?
Painful reminder.
Reminder of what, lady?
Before Michael Jackson played videos
up there in Ann Arbor, where Michigan State
it's painful. She remembers the days when MTV didn't play Michael Jackson videos, so it's a painful reminder.
I guess, but there was a couple of these incidents that had to do with some merchandising guy liking to hang these items so you could see them.
Let me ask you: Was this a white lady? Was this a white lady who said that? Was it a white lady who said that?
I don't know who. No, the painful reminder.
Yeah.
No, it was a black.
Oh,
woman.
Okay. All right. Well, good.
But the point is that it was. You can see some idiot who, I don't know what this is. Just hanging these things because it was the easiest way to display them.
But I like
I'm going to give them good positioning here. It's going to be an end cap.
I like that it's not good enough to say sorry. Not good enough. I want my tuition back. Something. Hey, No Agenda people know it's best to keep your amygdala nice and small, tiny, compact. So much better, so much healthier. And I think that we've
civilized.
Yes, maybe we've helped you keep it small. It's the only show that says we help you keep it small. A small-sized amygdala.
Yeah, you don't want to be a reptile.
No, hell no.
You'll turn into one.
We will be back on Sunday. We'll, whatever's going on in the world, we will bring it to you. We will deconstruct as possible, and I look forward to seeing you all here, producers. Thank you all for producing the best podcast in the universe. Coming to you from Opportunity Zone 33 here in downtown in Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State, FEMA Region number 6. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from Northern Silicon Valley, I'm John C. Dvorak.
And coming up on NoAgendaStream.com, Nick the Rat, his Spanish Rat episode, End of Show, mixes Cyborg Dave, Phantomville, and Proto V. We thank you very much for your courage. We'll talk to you on Sunday. Until then, adios, mofos! And such. Bloomberg. I've seen some of the ads, and all I see is Mike Bloomberg with a lot of black people.
I see him every day, and they're not that good.
You just have to learn to live with some things. They get a paycheck. With your paycheck comes some restrictions and responsibilities. Slavery, sharecropping, Jim Crow, segregation, and redlining.
Bloomberg.
But when you think about it from an economic perspective, the exploitation worked. A theft of labor and a transfer of wealth enshrined in law and enforced by violence.
Taxes are regressive. That's the good thing about them. The problem is in people that don't have a lot of money, and so higher taxes should have a bigger impact on their behavior and how they deal with themselves. We have a lot of soldiers in the United States, in the U.S. Army, and that's why you do want to do exactly what a lot of people say you don't want to do. A life or a job, or taxes or life. Which do you want to do? Take your poison.
I'm Mike Bloomberg, and I approve this message.
This flu knocks you out like Apollo Creed. Accidental outbreak, that's hard to concede. Hillary could fix this, or Sleepy Joe.
Donald Trump don't trust China. China is asshole.
When I step up in China, I step correct. Wuhan. Did Grandma get her flu shot? Better double check. Wuhan. From the North China Plain all the way to Quebec. Wuhan. Put your masks on tight, don't ever disrespect. Wuhan.
An unknown germ is being blown around the world. It's highly contagious and it's reached plague proportions.
Is it possible this germ or virus could be airborne?
Anything is possible, Verge. The best brains in the world have been running through this thing with a fine-tooth comb. The germ is visible under a microscope, but is not like any bacilli I ever known. It can't be destroyed by any process we've been able to uncover.
I'm in quarantine! I'm in quarantine! I'm in quarantine for the first time, and this time I know it's for real. I'm in quarantine. God knows I'm in quarantine. I'm gone down with the flu. I've gone down with the flu. I've gone down with the flu for the first time. And this time I know it's for real. Oh, God knows I'm down with the flu.
It's strange, but it's true. Yeah, I can't get over feeling like I got the flu. But they have to be sure if I walk out that door, I'm in quarantine, babe. Yeah, I'm in quarantine, yeah. Oh, I'm in quarantine now. The best podcast in the universe.
Mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Bloomberg is racist.